Hi, I'm Celine, and I've called the St. Augustine Orphanage home since I was 6, but I'm not actually an orphan. You see, my parents are special agents with secret identities. Sweetie, if one day someone suspicious asks you about your parents, run for your life. I was used to these fleeting, ghost-like visits from my parents. They often took turns sneaking in and out at night, spending the little time they had with me, and always came together for my birthday. And even though I didn't see them much, they taught me some awesome skills. By the age of 12, I was fluent in 5 languages, could play a variety of instruments, and do a butterfly kick on anyone who needed it. Despite living a secret life and not seeing my parents as much as I wanted, I still felt lucky that I had them both in my life. It's my 17th birthday, a day I should be super excited about. You see, my parents always visit me together on my birthday, but I've been waiting here for ages and there's no sign of them. This was the first year this had happened. I didn't like it one bit. Something was definitely up. The next day in church, we were singing hymns when I spotted this strange man in the crowd staring at me. My instincts were telling me something was up, so I eavesdropped on him talking to a nun.
That girl with blonde hair. How exactly did her parents pass away?
He asked about my parents. That meant my life was in real danger. I fled with all my survival skills right away. What really happened to my parents? Have their identities been revealed? I didn't dare to think about it. So I made sure no one was following me before going to the subway and looking for a baggage locker. This was where I needed to come in a run-for-my-life situation. I waited until nobody was around before I opened it with my key. Inside was some money, a dossier documenting a girl's life from childhood to old age, and a letter.
Our darling Celine, we're very sorry that you didn't have the normal childhood you deserved. Please don't ever doubt that we cherish and love you with all of our hearts. If you're reading this, it means our identities have been compromised. We've included the documents for your new identity. Stay strong. We will reunite soon. You're a loving mom and dad. XO.
If my parents could arrange all this for me, I believe that they could handle anything and come back to me soon. So here I am, under my new identity, Diane. Australia, here I come. My parents left me just enough money to start a new life here, pay for rent, and tuition fees. How perfectly ordinary. Diane's parents were researchers way in the Arctic. She's from a basic family and attended normal public schools, then worked as an office accountant, did not marry or have children. Everything was boringly safe. The thing is, if I was going to be someone else, then I should at least be someone fun. So I didn't start school. Instead, I created and adopted the identity of 20-year-old Harper and started my first money-making idea, marriage on demand. With all I'd learned from my parents, I could make a whole lot of money and at the same time experience how a normal family would look like. Perfect! First, I became a Harvard doctor graduate so this privileged guy's parents would give him his inheritance. Next, a posh aristocrat who saved my client from a dreadful arranged marriage. And then a sweet-natured girl who helped my client intimidate their seriously mean friends. As soon as my clients achieved their goals, the contract ended and we went our separate ways. Before I knew it, through my Harper alias, I'd married 9 guys in just 8 months and become eye-wateringly rich. But as it turned out, the cases I took were all abnormal families. This 10th contract would be my final case. Then I'd say goodbye to Harper and attend college as Diane before I lost all faith in ever getting the family of my dreams. But while driving to my rendezvous, I swear that car was following me. It could be my parents or someone dangerous. Only one way to find out. Now I just had to wait. If they were dangerous, I'd drive straight off this cliff, then swim to safety. Then I saw this gormless, grinning guy peer through my window. He held up a temporary girlfriend contract.
Hey, I just want to talk.
Could he be my 10th client? Either way, he seemed harmless, so I stepped out of the car.
I'm Carlton from the courthouse. You've sure been busy, so I've been assigned to investigate you.
As far as I'm aware, it's not illegal to marry multiple times, is it?
No, only if they're real and not marriage contracts.
Carlton, I only have one client left and I'm not marrying him. I'm his temporary girlfriend, which I believe is legal. So, is there any chance you could turn a blind eye this one last time?
Legal or not, I strongly advise you to quit this job and do something more morally upright.
Just then, a black car pulled over and a man walked straight towards us. Oh no, had they found me? I'm sorry for getting you into trouble. I turned around, ready to jump, but Carlton suddenly held my hand back.
No need for that. My boss won't eat you alive. Besides, I haven't told anyone about the contracts yet.
Oh, so this man's his boss from the court? Turns out he and his wife happened to see Carlton on their way to the airport and just came to say hi.
Hey, Carl, it doesn't say much if this girl would rather jump into the sea than date you.
He looked really awkward and I felt bad for the guy.
Without thinking it through, I clung onto his arm and gave him my best adoring look.
Actually, we're deeply in love.
I'm an adrenaline junkie, but you know Carl, he's just so strict about things like this. You're right, Carl is rather stiff. If you loosened up a bit, you may have been promoted by now.
After they left, I explained to Carlton that's what my job is, helping nice guys out of unnecessary trouble. Nothing immoral about it.
I was about to leave when he suddenly stopped me.
I could see his attitude changed.
Please, make a contract with me. I know you could help me improve my communication skills and get me promoted. You can see how desperate I am right now.
I wasn't sure. I mean, number 10 was meant to be my last client, but just look at that clueless face.
Fine, but in return, you must be an attentive boyfriend, and I want to have dinner with you and your family every evening. Carl looked a bit confused, but he agreed to my demands.
This was probably my last chance to experience a family life.
I have a strict don't be wife 2 people at the same time rule, so I'm meeting my other client to gently turn him down. Celine, is that you?
Celine? He knew my name? OMG, that's Matten, the genius pianist from the orphanage. Oh no, this was terrible. He could blow my cover.
I was adopted and go by Harper now. My adoptive parents turned out to be a letdown. I had to fake my identity so I could work on my own. I understand. It's so hard for orphans like us to survive.
Yes, it sure is. Look, Matten, things got pretty difficult for me, so I had to take another job in a hurry. I can't do 2 jobs at once. I'm sorry I have to cancel our contract.
Yeah, about that. I already publicly announced I have a girlfriend just a second ago.
Pianist prodigy Matten confirmed he's currently dating someone? Matten, I really can't do this.
Just tell me who your client is. I can make a deal with him.
I can't be with them both, so I called an emergency meeting for them to plead their cases.
An article accused me of inappropriate behavior towards female artists. It's completely false, of course. I need a girlfriend to distract the public and make them see I'm not a jerk. I want this promotion. If you won't help me, I'll expose you publicly. Pfft, like that matters. I'll just take you back to the US.
No, I can't go back there, and I don't want any attention from people either. This is what I'm gonna do, Carl. I'll be your girlfriend on weekdays and do anything I can to help you get promoted. In Matten, I'll be your girlfriend, well, pretend to be your girlfriend on the weekend. But my face has to stay out of the media, okay? Once this is done, then it's goodbye Harper and hello trouble-free, simple Diane. All I have to do is play some music while Matten listens and lets the paparazzi snap photos.
I've always admired the way you play music. It follows no rules, but that's what makes it so fearless and fun.
His comment made me pine for my parents. They were the reason I played like that. They taught me in the dark, told me to flow with the rhythms without any rules. I miss them so much.
I must admit I'd always had a crush on you. When this is over, I want to protect you. I want to be your family.
This was sweet, but he didn't know that I already had a family. I just needed to be patient. Then eventually they'll be back. On weekdays, I joined Carlton for lunch at work and helped him talk to his coworkers and grumpy boss. Then in the evening, I went to his house and gave him tips on how to be more charismatic, make people trust and warm up to him. I also taught him how to walk without slouching and politely greet people.
Hi, Mr. Chair. You look great today.
Oh, Miss Lamp, are you okay? You shouldn't lose more weight. You're already gorgeous.
Isn't that too much? I've never talked like this before.
You're doing great. Carlton followed all my advice. He might be a bit clumsy, but in a cute, endearing way. Still, what I anticipated most was joining his family for dinner. I'd never experienced the cozy and warm atmosphere of a family dinner before. Who knew Carl was such a great cook? And so sweet. After only 1 week, Carl now had friends at work and his boss gave him extra responsibilities. Meanwhile, Matten's reputation also made a rebound thanks to articles like, he doesn't want to be around other girls because he's so passionately in love with this amazing muse. A frantic week quickly passed, which ended with Carlton's family celebrating his new position, all thanks to me. I was so moved I almost cried, but noticed Carlton seemed off. Maybe he was bummed out as he knew this was the end of our contract. After dinner, we went for a stroll around the garden. Then he blurted out,
"Who are you really?"
I was super surprised. Then he told me that one of his new jobs was to investigate a girl called Diane who entered the country, then vanished.
I know you're Diane. I can recognize those eyes anywhere.
Yes, I'm Diane, but I only faked my identity to earn money.
I know you're lying again. It's fine, you've helped me, so I'll help you too. I faked some info to close the case.
Thank you, Carl. This means a lot. I knew how important the laws were to him, but he still broke them. For me.
I actually quit my job.
What do you mean? What about your promotion? You've tried so hard for that.
It's okay. I realized I didn't like it so much anyway.
I felt terrible that he'd given up his job because of me. But he didn't need me anymore. Our contract had to end, right? Now it's time to end Matten's contract. Then I can go back to being Diane. However, I showed up at the villa to a swarm of reporters.
Are you Matten's girlfriend? Please get out of the car. Are you the girl who dates him for dollars, not love? Please show yourself and verify the news.
Looks like the news of Matten's girlfriend being a girl who only married for money had leaked. I sat there not knowing what to do. Then I saw Matten coming out of the villa hand in hand with some shiny-haired girl.
These rumors about my girlfriend are all lies. Amber is a wonderful, kind-hearted soul and I couldn't be happier.
Oh, I suppose that's pretty smart of him. Finding someone with a nice background was the only way to save his reputation for now. Goodbye, Matten. I wish you well. It seems he couldn't bring himself to ruin his career to protect me the way Carlton did. Now I was free to be Diane and attend this public school my parents wanted me to.
I was wondering when you'd show up. You're rather popular. A man with a scar has been asking about you.
Someone with a scar was looking for Diane? The moment I realized someone was watching me behind the door, my instinct told me to run for my life. I rushed to the window and jumped down, just to catch Carlton peeping at me. What are you doing here?
I wanted to see you, so I tracked down Diane. I didn't expect to find you here, but I like you a lot, and
there was no time. They saw us together, so I pulled him away.
You're driving like crazy, Diane. Who are they? Why are they chasing us?
I don't know. All I know is that they're dangerous. He took his phone out to call 911, but I stopped him. No cops. I can't trust anyone but myself, Carl. I'm so sorry for dragging you into this mess. My parents often told me the best way to escape a chase is to jump into the water. However crazy it seems, please trust me. I took a sudden turn and plunged the car straight into the sea. In the water, I unfastened the seatbelt and turned to see Carl already got out of his. He pulled my hand and we swam through the window. The waves drifted us onto a beach, but I had no strength left to move an inch. They're gonna catch us.
Celine, sweetie, please wake up.
I rubbed my eyes and saw the golden sand, Carlton, and my mom and dad? Am I dead? Mom?
No, sweetie, you're very much alive.
Turns out the people chasing us were my parents. After 10 years on the job, they finally eliminated the criminal gang and retired. Dad ended up getting the scar, but it's all over now. We could finally be a normal family.
You sure made it hard for us to track you down by using a different identity. We should have known our cunning daughter would have created a more challenging life. Like father, like daughter. Huh? You're not Diane?
Carlton, my name's Celine. Mom, Dad, this is Carlton, my boyfriend. It was so cute seeing him blush. Then he quickly held his hand out and introduced himself to them.
It's lovely to meet you both. I care greatly for your daughter and I always will, no matter how mischievous she is.
Turns out it's pretty amazing just being Celine. I started school as myself and so far, so good. I'm living with my kind, talented, and normal parents. We're having the best time together, and I get to date this cute, caring chef. The best part is I can finally stop running for my life and just enjoy the people I love most. Little Jasmine was playing football with her friends when they stopped because someone had to go pee. Yeah, I gotta go too. They all went to the woods, and Jasmine's jaw dropped upon seeing them. What in the world? Why are they all peeing standing up like that? Jasmine is the youngest child and only girl in an all-boy family. Her mother passed away when she was born, so she grew up with her father and 3 brothers. Her dad is a successful businessman who can ensure a happy life for his 3 sons, but struggles with Jasmine because he's only used to raising boys. Although he tried his best to raise a daughter, Jasmine became more like a 4th son. She has short hair, dresses like them, and plays her brother's games. She even tends to skip showers for days at a time. Her bedroom is messy and decorated with boy stuff. Her brothers even gave her a boy's name. One day while playing, her eldest brother Gary called over his younger siblings. Roll call! Like soldiers, the 3 younger siblings lined up from tallest to shortest, proclaiming their names loud and proud. Gary, Aaron, Nick, Jasmine? Her brothers looked at her, frowning disapprovingly. Then Gary had an idea. Nah, that doesn't sound right. How would you like a new name? A new name? Not a real new name. Just a nickname. Something cool we can call you. How about that? Sure. How about we call her Gucci? Gucci, like the luxury brand? Yeah, it sounds cool. So, how about that, Jasmine? You like Gucci? Jasmine nodded, and from that day forward, everyone called her Gucci. She learned to like it more than her real name, and as she grew up, she just assumed she was a boy. That is, until the incident happened today. Feeling absolutely bamboozled, Jasmine dashed home to tell her dad what she saw. Dad, am I a different type of boy? No, you're a girl, Jasmine. A girl? Does it matter? Not really. Okay, cool. That's all I need to know. After that, Jasmine still dressed up and played boys' games until a shocking event happened when she turned 12. One day at school, Jasmine suddenly felt very tired and her stomach hurt. Can I use the restroom, please? Yes, is everything okay? Yeah, But the moment she stood up, the boy sitting next to her started yelling to the rest of their classmates. Gucci, there's something on your pants! Jasmine looked down and her face started burning bright red. She was frozen as laughter erupted from the rest of the classroom. Unable to take another second of it, she sprinted from the room and didn't look back, despite her teacher shouting her name down the hall. Jasmine couldn't understand what was happening to her and frantically searched the school for her brothers. When she did find them, they were just as puzzled as she was, trying to figure out what to do. They didn't realize they had ended up in front of the nurse's office. Once safe inside the office, Jasmine asked, "Give it to me straight, ma'am. Am I dying?" No. Oh, my dog! I'm totally dying, aren't I? I got a big game coming up. I haven't even tried. You're not dying. It's called period, honey. Then how do I stop it from happening? You can't. It's gonna keep happening because you're becoming a woman. A woman? What the? But problems still followed Jasmine even after she entered high school. And one of those problems was mean girls. We all know you're gay, Gucci. Tell us who you have a crush on. Well, I've liked you for a long time, Tiffany. Want to go on a date? In your dreams. Jasmine was pleased with herself as the group of girls stormed off. One day, Jasmine was walking down the stairs when she slipped, but someone caught her. She looked up at her savior to find Mike, the new student/angel who just joined her high school. This was the first time Jasmine had felt her heart beat so fast. Not counting the time she accidentally peed on her father's Persian rug when she was 4 years old. Hey, shut your front door! At that moment, Jaden quickly took the opportunity, pretended to fall on the two of them, and uttered a line that still makes him admire his own disguise skills to this day. Ouch! Ouch! My ankle! Who the fudge spilled water all over the stairs? Jasmine turned to look at the person who had just spoken. Then a hand reached out. You okay, bro? Jasmine blushed and looked up. She saw Mike offering her his hand and shyly reached for it. But suddenly, it hit her. He called me bro! From then on, Jasmine continuously ran into Mike in class, in the library, and found herself falling for him. But every time Jasmine greeted him, hey, what's up, bro? But Jasmine didn't want him to be her bro. She wanted him to be her beau. She decided it was time to do something. Jasmine secretly put food and lollipops in Mike's locker and was caught by Tiffany. You know that's a boy's locker, don't you? Sorry if you're disappointed it's not yours. Why don't you just quit while you're ahead, Gucci? Mike is into real girls. I bet he doesn't even know you're supposed to be one. As Tiffany laughed, Jasmine turned bright red with anger. Storming away, she was determined to become the kind of girly girl Mike could fall for. Jasmine thought she would have to change from the inside out, so this would be her first destination. However, out of much embarrassment, she resorted to wearing a hoodie to fully cover herself. Jasmine suddenly noticed a saleswoman following her around the store. I'm gonna need security to get over here now. This dude is sus. No, I'm just browsing. I'm trying to find a birthday gift for my, sister. Ah, right on. We have some lacy ones, bright colors like neon green, and hot yellow that dudes really like. Jasmine felt dizzy. Just imagining wearing any of these made her feel embarrassed. Quickly, she thanked the saleswoman for her help and told her she'd come back, then hurried out of the store. How is being a girl so difficult? I wish I had some girlfriends to help with this. I have no clue what I'm doing. As soon as Jasmine got outside, she noticed Jaden checking himself out in front of a glass door. Excellent! My cover as Jaden is perfect. No one's gonna know who I really am. Jeez, this guy again. He seemed so self-obsessed. So much more girly than I could ever be. Jasmine then immediately came up with this brilliant idea, but Jaden had already left. The next day, Jasmine saw Jaden again, who was enthusiastically chatting with the gossip girls. Do these girls know how to get to the point? This gossip is exhausting. I just need them to say something relevant about Mike so I can get on with this investigation. When the mean girls left, Jasmine finally worked up the nerve to approach him with her proposition. Can you help me be more like those other girls? Like what? Chatty? More, I don't know, feminine? No thanks. Oh, come on. I know you have it inside. I don't have time for this nonsense. I have a job to do. Jaden started walking away, but Jasmine wasn't going to take no for an answer. Please, I want to get Mike to like me, and he only likes girly girls. Jaden realized this could be a good opportunity for him to get to Mike, instead of directly approaching him, which could easily raise suspicion, so he agreed. Together, Jaden and Jasmine found out that he seemed to be into designer stuff. He also adored Kendall Jenner very much. Looks like Mike has expensive tastes. Money's not a problem. Then she dragged Jaden to the mall. They bought all kinds of designer dresses, high heels, and bags, which made Jaden's jaw totally drop. Jeez, I didn't expect you to be rich. My dad is a collector of sorts. He likes antiques and things. You know, like those fancy old Persian carpets, original artwork, porcelain vases and things. He has a good job, so I guess he can afford such an expensive hobby. Then Jaden also taught Jasmine how to walk and behave like a girl. Jasmine struggled a lot. She was just so used to acting like a boy that acting like a girl was more foreign to her than her dad's Nordic glassware. How come you're better at being a girl than I am? Because I spent endless days and nights doing research on this character so I could easily master all this girly stuff. Oh, I guess it's all in my genes. And that made Jasmine fall over laughing. The following day, Jasmine came to school with her brand new look and was immediately thrust into the spotlight. However, the only ones who didn't seem to notice were Mike and Tiffany. This plan seems like a bust. You can't lose the race before you've even reached the starting line. He seems to have even more faith in me than I have in myself. Gotta trust the process, I guess. And indeed, the following days, Jaden tried his best to help Jasmine approach Mike. At lunch, when Mike passed their table, Jaden designedly dropped Jasmine's apple, which he caught just before it hit the ground. Can I sit here? After a few days, Mike fell for it hook, line, and sinker. He tracked Jasmine down at the end of the day to ask her out. So, things didn't work out between you and Tiffany? Psh, no. I found out all her designer clothes were knockoffs. Can you believe that? I just hate liars. Don't you? Yeah, totally. Anyway, is that yes to a date? Absolutely. Who fell for it hook, line, and sinker then? Soon enough, Jasmine and Mike were officially dating, and Jaden didn't miss this chance to follow them 24/7. Jaden always seemed to appear out of nowhere to interrupt their conversations. So, tell us a little more about yourself, Mike. Where do you live? What does your dad do for work? Well, I lost my mom when I was too young to remember her, and I've basically lived with my nanny ever since. Dad comes around sometimes, but he spends a lot of time on business trips. That must be rough. I mean, I also lost... Why so busy? What exactly does he do? Mike's face seemed darkened, and Jasmine couldn't help but be a bit annoyed with Jaden's constant presence. She wasn't sure who was dating Mike anymore, but there were benefits to having Jaden around all the time. He seemed to be Jasmine's savior when it came to ordering food, as Mike had a terrifyingly strict diet and skincare routine. Is there anything quality on this menu? I can't eat any of these greasy, fried, fatty foods. No soda either. Only smoothies or sugar-free milk. I also go to the gym 4 times a week and spend the rest at a spa. You should come with me sometime. Sure. That sounds cool. In order to keep her girly image, Jasmine tried to delicately take a few bites of the salad and ignored her grumbling stomach. Luckily, Mike had to leave early, so once he was out of sight, Jaden slid his full plate of food over to Jasmine. Here, you could act in your natural habitat now. Thank you so much. As Jasmine began eagerly scarfing down his food, Jaden reached for Mike's unfinished drink and took a sip. What the heck is this poison? I should have you know that was the only thing Mike found acceptable on the menu. A sugar-free kale smoothie. Ick. No wonder he couldn't even finish it. Then they had a great evening talking and dining on deliciously greasy, fried, fatty foods. As they were walking back home, Jasmine twisted her ankle, still not used to wearing high heels. Without thinking, Jaden quickly piggybacked Jasmine and continued walking. Comfortable quietness fell over them. Becoming self-conscious, Jasmine broke the silence. Am I, too heavy for you? Actually, yeah, next time, cut down on the chicken before twisting an ankle. How dare you? I'm kidding. You're fine. You're not heavy at all. I mean, maybe a little. Oh, shut up, you jerk. The two shared their cheerful laughter under the streetlights. Meanwhile, after seeing Jasmine and Mike together, Tiffany threw a tantrum and thought to herself she wouldn't let them off that easily. One day, when Jasmine and Mike were discussing where to go out next time, Jaden immediately seized the chance. Let's go to Mike's house. Come on. Alrighty then, my house it is. Let's go. When they arrived, Jaden couldn't stop admiring the house and looked everywhere, but only God knew he was just looking for clues. Staying fully in character, Jaden touched a little bit of everything, clinging on to Mike and gushing over everything. This house is beautiful and huge. It must be awesome living basically by yourself with all this. Is your dad around by any chance? We'd love to meet him. Meanwhile, Jasmine was becoming a little uncomfortable with how obsessed with Mike Jaden seemed to be. Is he gay? I mean, that's fine, but he could just say that. Later, when the two of them were alone, Jasmine figured it was time to confront Jaden. Hey, I was wondering, do you, have a crush on my boyfriend? Jaden was dumbfounded for a second, and before he could think more about it, he slyly smiled and pressed Jasmine against the wall. What makes you think so? I'm into girls. Jasmine couldn't think straight with Jaden's face so close to hers. Want me to prove it to you? Flustered, she hurriedly pulled away, heart fluttering, blushing profusely. I would like you to stop being a third wheel then. Thank you for helping me approach Mike and all, but now that we're dating, I would appreciate it if you could give us some space. Please. Jaden was taken aback for a second, then calmly said, You're right. Sorry. I'll back off. Being the third wheel all this time hasn't gotten me any info on Mike's dad anyway. He really was laying low, and maybe Mike didn't even know anything about what his father was doing. The FBI might need to find another way to approach this investigation. Little did Jaden know, Jasmine had become an unexpected factor in his investigation plan. Jaden was taken aback for a second, then calmly said, You're right. Sorry. I'll back off. Being the third wheel all this time hasn't gotten me any info on Mike's dad anyway. He really was laying low, and maybe Mike didn't even know anything about what his father was doing. The FBI might need to find another way to approach this investigation. Little did Jaden know, Jasmine had become an unexpected factor in his investigation plan. After that time, Jasmine and Mike had private dates, just the two of them, but they left Jasmine feeling more and more distant from him. Why does this wig have to be so long? And these freaking shoes! Why do girls want to torture themselves with these things? Jasmine thought about the last time she was with Jaden, how she could just remove the stupid heels and enjoy being carried by him. But of course, that could never happen in front of Mike. Jaden has kept his promise and leaves us two alone, but why do I feel like something is missing?
You look really beautiful today. That necklace is divine.
Yeah, I got it from my dad's antique cabinet this morning. Guess it once belonged to some ancient Egyptian queen. My dad has a bunch of these.
Oh, really? How come?
Well, he developed a very deep passion for collecting antiques and has filled our whole house with all kinds of stuff.
Interesting.
Just then, Mike knew exactly what to do with rich and naive Jasmine while she's still totally oblivious to it. That night, Jasmine struggled to fall asleep. She wondered how Jaden could just disappear into thin air like that. Fine, don't let me see you again. I'll make you watch me eat 10 buckets of fried chicken and then force you to run 10 laps while carrying me. Jasmine didn't realize, however, that behind her inexplicable frustration toward Jaden, she actually missed him. The next day, as soon as Jasmine arrived at school, Mike approached her urgently.
Have I mentioned that I'm turning 16 this weekend?
No, you haven't. Any special plans for your big day then?
Yes, actually. That's why I came to find you. I wanted to make sure you had enough time to put together the most stunning outfit, 'cause I'd like you to meet my father there. You must make a good impression on him.
Wow. I'm gonna need to think about it, okay? After that, Jasmine looked everywhere for Jaden but couldn't find any trace of him. Jaden, where on earth have you been?
That evening, while Jaden was discussing the current situation with his partner, he was surprised to see Jasmine's figure at the door. How did she find her way here?
How dare you go AWOL for the past few days? Do you realize how many excuses I needed to give the student supervisor just to get your address? Then Jasmine began to tell Jaden about her latest date with Mike, how she felt that Mike was not the right match for her, and that Mike wanted to introduce her to his father at Mike's birthday party. I think I need to break things off before any family gets involved. However, after the FBI team hit a dead end because they couldn't get any intel, Jaden realized this party was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them to catch the thief. Wait, you can't give up so soon. You were so determined to win Mike over before. Don't just dump him over cold feet. At least wait until after the party to make your decision. Yeah, you're right. I'll go to the party. After that, Jasmine left. She was trying not to feel the sadness building inside her, but the night that she and Jaden nearly kissed played on repeat in her head. Would things be different if I just confessed my feelings to Jaden? I should let him know how I feel about him. So Jasmine headed back to Jaden's place. When she was almost there, she saw him seeing someone off. Huh? There was another person at his house? Why didn't I see him just then? Jasmine quickly hid behind a wall, out of sight. That party is surely our golden ticket, and we thought you going undercover as Jaden and giving that dude a makeover was all in vain. He's a she, and her name is Jasmine. Oh, did someone catch feelings? Don't forget that you're an FBI agent, James. Jaden, that is. Jasmine couldn't believe what she just heard and saw. When the man left, she stormed right over to Jaden. When were you going to tell me about your double life, James? I wish I could tell you everything, but I really can't. But I won't deny what you did here. I'm an FBI agent, and I've been undercover as a high school student to follow Mike. Jasmine, please listen to me. I'll tell you everything when the right time comes. So I was just a tool that you used to get closer to Mike. And since that didn't work, you're done with me? No, that's not. And why Mike? What do you need from him? I can't tell you anything else right now. But please just be careful around him, okay? He's not as nice as he tries to seem. I'm going to send FBI agents to keep an eye on you at the party. No, you will not. You won't do anything because you and the FBI are going to leave me alone. Jasmine, please. As much as it hurt to look at him again, Jasmine turned back around. My friends call me Gucci, but I guess you wouldn't know. While Jasmine was still mad at Jaden, she couldn't help questioning why the FBI had to send people to follow Mike. Suddenly, she remembered the overheard conversation. That party was surely our golden ticket, and we thought you going undercover as Jaden and giving that dude a makeover was all in vain. Maybe I could find the answer at Mike's birthday party. In the following days, Jaden relentlessly tried in every way to make amends with Jasmine. He messaged her on every social platform, from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter, and she blocked him on each one. He flew paper planes that read, "I'm sorry," into Jasmine's room, but she just stared coldly at him through the window while tearing the planes all up and throwing them in the trash. One morning, Jasmine woke up and even found a dove delivering Jaden's apology letter, but she completely ignored it still. Mike's birthday party finally came. Why do I feel so unsettled? Maybe it was because of Gary's hamburger this afternoon? Meanwhile, Mike was also lost in his own thoughts. Will Dad be able to get on with the plan? I wonder what disguise he'll show up in. Right then, Tiffany approached them. Mike, I have a present for you. Mike opened the envelope to find pictures of Jasmine from when she was a tomboy. I just wanted to remind you of the person you're really dating. I don't care about who she was before, because I love who she is now. My amazing girlfriend. Jasmine felt partly appreciative of Mike's feelings for her, but she was also exhausted from the pressure of trying to be someone she wasn't. If only you knew that this isn't the real me. As they walked away, Mike leaned in close and whispered in Jasmine's ear, "Let's go meet my dad, privately." Jasmine followed Mike to the rooftop, but she saw nobody when they got there. Where is he? Just be patient. He always shows up on time. At that moment, a kind-looking old man appeared. Jasmine looked around in confusion, wondering where he had come from. Before she could introduce herself, he started to speak. "So you must be the lovely Jasmine. Mike has told me so much about you. I heard your father is a famous collector of antiquities." Yes. You know my dad? "I know he has something that's truly coveted." Jasmine had no idea what he was talking about. She turned to Mike and saw him mouthing, "It's you. Come here, girl. I have a gift for you. A diamond ring that's perfect for your delicate hands." Jasmine hesitated, but somehow she found herself slowly reaching out her hand. Just before her hand could reach his, there was a rustling sound. Rat! Suddenly, there was a loud explosion and smoke filled the air. Jasmine fell to the ground, unconscious. Jaden rushed in and saw Mike's father disappear into the smoke as they fled. His head told him to chase them, but seeing Jasmine lying on the ground, he immediately ran to Jasmine and carried her out of there. Jasmine woke up and saw her dad and 3 brothers anxiously standing around. Through their accounts, she knew that an anonymous message had been sent to her father last night, demanding he hand over a precious necklace in exchange for Jasmine. The police confirmed that the sender of that threatening message is a career thief. But I wonder how he knew our family had that necklace. Jasmine recalled wearing that necklace to see Mike and revealing to him that her dad was an antique collector. Could that very thief be... Remember, he's been doing this for a long time. They call him the Phantom Thief. Surely he has a talent for sniffing out valuable items and evading the police. Unfortunately, it's the same this time. Actually, that young police officer could have caught him, but he chose to save your sister. Our family owes him big time. Is that young police officer Jaden? Later, Jaden came to visit Jasmine at the hospital. Can you tell me the truth now? Is the FBI chasing a career criminal who is none other than Mike's dad? You're right, because he works in mysterious ways. I had to approach him through his son, Mike. So why didn't you arrest him when you had the chance? Weren't you just waiting for that moment? Because you were in danger. At that moment, I could only think about getting to you. All right, I'll give you that one. Can you tell me what you found out? Maybe I can help. Then Jaden told Jasmine that through spying on Mike, he discovered that Mike was his father's informant. Mike would scour rich girls, then point out the targets to his father who'd steal their valuables. That's why Mike had targeted Tiffany before, but as soon as he learned she was a fake rich girl and Jasmine was the real deal, he switched his focus to Jasmine. I am so sorry I kept the truth from you for so long. I really care about you, and I was trying to keep you from getting hurt, and you did anyway. I'm sorry. I hope you can forgive me. You did save my life after all. I think we can call it square. So, what's our next move then? I really don't know. I might have an idea. Elsewhere, Mike and his dad were scheming. I didn't expect that sissy Jaden to be in the FBI. Don't worry, I know how to deal with him. The next day, reports of an antique auction flooded the news. A once-in-a-lifetime exhibition, all from one man's private collection, will be auctioned to the highest bidder. The collection includes antiquities from all over the world, including a necklace said to belong to Cleopatra. Its estimated value is over $100 billion. The streets were also plastered with billboards and banners about that auction. In the evening of the auction, all VIPs of the upper class gathered in the hotel's main lobby to prepare for the big event. In addition, hundreds of security guards and police officers were hired to guard the auction jewelry 24/7. Before the start of the auction, Jasmine's dad gave a welcome speech to all the guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to welcome you all to today's event. As you know, I collect antiques as a hobby, so to share some of the joy this collection has brought me, the profits from today's auction will be donated to the orphanage. Sir, is it true that Cleopatra's necklace will also be auctioned today? That's right. However, it's not here. It's currently being kept in a very secure place that even a mosquito couldn't get through, and will be presented during the final round. Aren't you afraid that the Phantom Thief, Master of Disguise, will steal it? Well, he can certainly try me. The whole crowd burst into laughter. Without knowing, from a corner, an elegant lady was watching them all with a smirk on her face. At 9 o'clock sharp, while the sounds of the auction echoed through the hotel's halls, someone in a black shirt and wearing a backpack appeared at the door, trying to put a key in the lock. Freeze! Hands over your head! Busted, you thief! I'm not... In the lobby, chaos reigned after it became known that the Phantom Thief had approached the treasure. Jasmine was extremely nervous too. Before long, a police officer went onto the stage. Please don't worry, the thief was apprehended by the police while trying to open the door. The auction will continue as scheduled. Everyone felt relieved, and the room erupted into applause. At that moment, the elegant yet mysterious lady walked toward the elevator quietly, heading to the penthouse. She then swiftly snuck into the room and retrieved the necklace with ease. Those stupid cops must be bringing that fool down to the station right now. She then put the box into her bag and left the room. Suddenly, an old janitor bumped into her. I'm terribly sorry, miss. The elegant lady grumbled, then used the emergency exit to rush up to the rooftop. On the roof, a helicopter was already waiting, with Mike inside. Mike's dad quickly gave him the necklace. Just when the helicopter took off, policemen came rushing to catch him. We finally got you, you weasel! Ha ha!
I've still got the necklace. I win again, you fools. Oh, you mean this necklace? What? How could you? It turned out that Jaden had swapped the box when they bumped into each other in the hall. Upon this admission, in the helicopter, Mike eagerly opened the box, which turned out to be just a jumping jack toy. No! After the police took Mike's dad away, Jasmine and her dad rushed to Jaden. Thank you so much for saving my daughter and still catching the thief.
Thank you for all your help. We couldn't have caught him if you didn't fabricate this event.
This whole thing was Jasmine's idea, and the event itself was fake. All the antiques auctioned tonight were real, and those proceeds will still go to charity.
We did it.
You're right. We did it. Whatever happened with the other thief who got caught earlier? Oh, he was hired to distract the FBI, but we knew from the start he wasn't our thief. Luckily, the arrest announcement was just the thing we needed to get Mike's dad to make his move and to make him think he was going to get away with it. Now I just need to know how you switched those boxes so smoothly. Are you a magician too? Nope, I'm just me.
The next day, Jaden finally had some time alone with Jasmine,
And it was finally time to tell her the rest of everything. It might not be my place to say, but I understand how you've been feeling. Trying to be someone? Heck, it's my job. But it's not your job to change to make other people like you. The right people are the ones who love you for who you really are. People like, me. Jasmine was touched. She had so many things she wanted to say, but she was simply speechless. She turned to Jaden, and upon seeing just his side profile, she blushed. Are you okay? Jasmine was going to respond, but she hiccuped again.
I think I know what to do.
I and Pearl were playing our favorite, playing Disney Princess. You have to be the princess this time, Ruby. We're gonna make a perfect Elsa and Anna. No, I'm going to be your knight, fighting all the bad guys and protecting you, milady. Then a maid knocked on the door with a phone in her hands. That might be my parents.
Ruby, the school called again. How on earth could you get all these words spelled wrongly? What kind of nurse is spelled with a Z?
I am really trying.
It's all right, Bae. Studying isn't for everyone, and she might be of a sport type. Sweet Pea, could you just try a little more next time? Good girl. We have to go now. Bye.
I know you can do this. You just need to keep practicing. You're perfect, just the way you are. Hi everyone, I'm Ruby, and this is my little sister, Pearl. Since my parents were always away for business trips, it's always just been me and her, growing up together. You already know I was terrible at studying, but Pearl was nothing like me. She was a genius.
What are you doing, Pearl? For God's sake, it's 6 a.m. The sun is still sleeping, and you should be sleeping too.
Absolutely not. Today is my first day in high school, and I have to make a good impression. My streak must continue.
Straight A's since 2015, I know. As if your valedictorian title isn't impressive enough. I might be Ruby, the dumb kid who couldn't read half of a word, but it doesn't matter, 'cause now I am Ruby, the awesome soccer captain.
Yes! Go Ruby! That's my sister, everyone!
I led the school soccer team to win multiple trophies, and I also aimed at the varsity scholarship myself. Studying was still a nightmare, but I gradually accepted that I wasn't born for studying, but for soccer. So all was well. So that morning, I was walking with Pearl on her first day at school when Beth and her clique approached us. Hey Ruby, ready to flunk your junior year?
Aw, Beth, still salty because Coach left you on the bench yesterday?
My advice for you would be to learn how to actually play soccer. Unfortunately, some of us have other things going on to focus on, like our brains. Oh, oops, you don't have one. You can't understand. Sorry. Boo-hoo, funny. That's Beth on my soccer team who always messed with me like everyone else. But all's good now, as I had my dear sister studying in the same school as me.
Sis, I found my class. I have to go now. Bye.
The next day at school, we had a new English teacher. Ruby Walker, could you read the summary on page 10? Oh, screwed. Oh dear, is that your thinking face? Didn't know you were capable of that. Sorry, teacher, but she can't read. You know what? My thoughts today on the book can be summarized into the classic song by the amazing Taylor Swift. So the haters gonna hate, but I'm just gonna shake. Shake it off, shake it off. Just then, the entire class was in a frenzy, and everyone was singing, dancing, like they were in the Eras tour. The teacher was so upset and tried to calm everyone down, but I was sent to the principal's office immediately.
First trouble in the junior, huh, Ruby? Listen, both you and I know how much you mean to the team, but unfortunately, it is not enough anymore. New district laws state that students must average at least C- to be eligible for the varsity scholarship.
What? But I'm the most qualified for it.
I am sorry, but until you can move grades from whatever it is right now to a C-, you're off the team to focus more on your studying. Beth is now our candidate for the scholarship, and she'll take over your place.
Beth? That girl who scored just 5 goals all season when I had scored 20? The world was really getting crazy. No way was I going to watch my passion get taken away from me that easily. I'm gonna study hard. Right! I'm gonna ask Pearl to tutor me. Ah, speak of the devil. Hi, Pearl. You know her? I heard she's kicked out of the soccer team because she's too dumb. Oh, no. No.
How scandalous if our valedictorian did.
Well, maybe now wasn't a good time. That night, I dozed off at my desk writing 4 words over and over again. I am not dumb. The news had spread that I got kicked off the team because of my grades, and the kids at school were vicious with their insults. Like I didn't have enough issues already, Pearl started to avoid me like a plague, as if she's ashamed of me. So I couldn't ask her to tutor me either. It's like the whole world was going against me. The district superintendent was visiting our school, and the principal chose the 2 smartest kids to give a welcome speech, Pearl and a new student, Joe, from my class. So we started to hang out a lot at our home to prepare for the speech.
Hey, Ruby, need any help with tomorrow's test?
Nah, I am famously unteachable. Don't waste your time on me, and Pearl is waiting for you.
It's all right, she can wait. Let me help.
Surprisingly, for the first time in my life, I felt like I could actually learn. There was something about the way he taught me that made me absorb knowledge naturally. Like he understood me and my struggles. Hey, there you are. I've been looking for you.
We have a test coming, so I was helping Ruby.
And we have a huge speech to give on Thursday.
You know nobody actually listens to those speeches, right? Anyway, I trust you to come up with something incredible.
Pearl stormed out angrily, but the only thing in my mind then was that I actually could learn. Hey, Joe, please teach me more. Joe could help me learn to get better grades, and then I could finally get back to my team and win the scholarship. Later that night, when I was practicing some test questions Joe gave me, Pearl barged into my room. I am not comfortable with you spending time with my boyfriend alone. Boyfriend? I didn't know you were dating. Well, not yet. Not with you hogging him and not giving me space to charm him. Oh, sorry. I was just excited. Joe is an incredible teacher. I was actually learning. Yeah, right. Of course you're capable of that. Pearl left my room, and it felt like a knife went through my heart. Since when did she think of me like that? Like everyone else does. But she always believed in me. The next day was the speech, and even though I was heartbroken, I still went to support her, and I clapped the loudest after she gave her amazing speech. Thank you for granting us a chance to study here. On behalf of the whole school students, I'll try my best to bring glory to our school's tradition. Wonderful speech, but I think before you bring glory to our school, shouldn't you teach your beloved sister, Ruby Walker, how to read first? I mean, maybe your dummy sister could learn 1 or 2 words from you before getting kicked out of her school. The whole auditorium burst out laughing, and my rage was filling my body. I lunged at Beth and grabbed her stupid ponytail until she screamed so loud, even the moon could hear her. Teachers and guards tried to separate us, while other students were excitedly shouting and cheering. In the middle of the messy crowd, I saw Pearl look at me in shame. I ran to her, but she just brushed me off. It's you again. Joe isn't enough, and now you try to steal my spotlight as well. What? No, I never meant harm to you, I swear. But she didn't listen to me and angrily stormed off. I was so angry at my brain for always failing me, and at everyone. Now my dream was gone, and my dear sister hated me as well. I fell down on the bleachers and saw Beth wearing my captain's armband, gathering everyone to the morning practice. She waved at me with the widest smile. It was hard to fight the tears, so I let them fall.
There you are. I was looking for you to continue our classes.
I don't think we should continue our classes.
Why?
Pearl, she doesn't like you and I together, and she will hate me for this.
Oh, I will talk to her, but this is more important. You need to get back on the pitch.
But you're just wasting your time on me. I'm just an idiot who ruined others' lives.
No, you're not an idiot at all. You're dyslexic, like me. I've noticed your symptoms for a while, but I wasn't so sure. But I am now.
Dyslexia? There's a name for this? So I'm not stupid?
No, you just learn differently. I will help you and teach you all the things the specialists taught me.
My mind was fuzzy. I gave Joe a hug without thinking. I felt relief spread all over my body. I wasn't dumb. I was dyslexic.
At home that night, I searched everything about dyslexia and even took an online assessment when suddenly Pearl barged in.
You told Joe I like him?
Yes and no, but not like that.
Well, thank you so much. He just called to tell me he just considered me a little sister. And you know what? I saw you hugging him on the bleachers this afternoon. So you were going behind my back all this time? What a sister! Don't ever speak to me again!
Pearl stormed out and kept her words of never speaking to me. It broke my heart to see us parting like this. Luckily, Joe comforted me and helped me stay focused on studying. Now that I knew what my problem really was and how to fix it, I improved every day. The letters didn't make me dizzy like before anymore, and our effort finally bore fruit as I got my first B- ever on a test. And in no time, I got called to the principal's office.
It has been incredible watching you turn your grades around. Good job, Ruby. I always knew. You're a gem like your name, and you just need some sharpening. Welcome back to the team.
Thank you! I ran out of his office and rushed to find Joe immediately. We did it! I'm back on the team!
Congratulations! But that was all you. You did it, Ruby.
That moment would have been perfect if I could celebrate with Pearl. I knew she didn't want to talk to me, but I really wanted to share this with her. But upon seeing me and Joe, she was just shooting me death rays. The joy in my mouth instantly turned to ash. I just wished we could go back to the old good days together, but I had no idea how. With me coming back to the team, I reclaimed a captain title and was eligible for the varsity scholarship. And of course, my impressive record easily got me the win.
Congratulations to Ruby Walker for winning this year's varsity scholarship. Come on stage.
Thank you very much, sir. All I can say is I'm immensely grateful for this chance, and I'm gonna try my best. Hi, everyone. Ruby's too shy, so she did prepare a speech here. Good luck. Except that I didn't prepare this note. Everyone in the audience all locked eyes on me, and I was sweating all over when I took the paper from her. Today is Oh, our scholarship winner just had a little problem. She just couldn't read. I hope it won't affect the scholarship much. Will it? I ran out of the hall before the tears blurred my eyesight. Joe was racing after me, but Pearl caught me first.
Pearl, I don't really have time for your mocking now.
No, I'm sorry. Joe told me about your dyslexia, and you should... Yeah, but it can wait. But you need to go back there right now. You've tried so hard to earn this place. I wouldn't let my sister waste it just because of Beth's dirty move. Joe also nodded encouragingly at me. Pearl was right. It's my passion. It's me or no one who would claim it. So I walked back into the hall, and as soon as I appeared, everyone started to laugh. I stepped up to the mic, took a deep breath, and read the speech. There were still some stumbles and stuttering, but I went through to the last word. Hi, everyone. I'm Ruby. You all can see I have some troubles reading because I have dyslexia. All my life, I have struggled and accepted that I was stupid. Until now, I know I'm not. I still haven't figured out how to read big words, but I am not ashamed of my struggles anymore, and no one should bear the troubles I've had. Dyslexic people like me need others to help us, to acknowledge our difficulties, and to be given a chance like any others. We're not dumb. We just need a different way to learn. Thank you. The hall was completely silent for a while before standing up for an ovation. I walked away from the podium to see the scowling look on Beth's face. I went backstage, where Pearl gave me a warm hug. I'm so proud of you. And I'm sorry, I should have helped you, but instead I've been horrible or even cruel to you. Yeah, you've been forgiven. So now could you please just stay quiet? I just want to hold my little sister longer. I missed this hug. I missed Pearl. My Pearl. It's good to have my sister back. And just like that, my life was back to normal. Of course, with some changes. There's something I need to tell you, Ruby. I'm sorry for the Joe thing. I let jealousy take over me and said bad things to you, but I realized he and I would never become a thing. But you would. Huh? No, we're just friends. Are you? Now come with me. Then she dragged me to the living room where Joe and another boy were standing. Then she placed my hand in Joe's. Joe, could you please take care of my sister when I go out with my boyfriend?
Sure.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and at 17, I was the new girl in a super prestigious school. This sudden move wasn't down to anything bad. It's not like I hated my old school or anything, but just like a winning lottery ticket that my father spent his amazing career to get. You see, my dad was a firefighter, and last summer there was a fire that completely burned down this mansion. My dad knew there was someone still in there, so he ignored all his teammates' warnings, then went into the burning building to rescue them alone. He found a girl around my age trapped in her room and rushed in to rescue her. But as he hugged the girl and ran out of the fire, a burning wooden beam fell on his leg. That was when my hero dad used his incredible strength he had left to get rid of it and carried the girl out of the building. Once he went out and checked if the girl was safe, he collapsed in his comrade's arms. He'd saved her life, but he was left with a pretty bad injury on his leg, which meant he couldn't do his job anymore. Being a fireman was all his life. He was so devastated that I couldn't even recognize him, until an unexpected fortune came to our family. The owner of the mansion, Mr. Adams, came to our front door one day. He was so grateful to my dad for saving his daughter's life that he offered him anything he wanted. Mr. Adams is a super wealthy businessman, but my dad didn't want his money. But there was one thing he agreed on. There's this private school. Well, it's not just any private school. It's where kids of politicians, celebrities, and big business tycoons go. Mr. Adams organized for me to go there too. OMG, it was so crazy. I'd be in the same class as the kids of A-list celebrities. I was so worried if I could fit in that new environment. But Mr. Adams said that his daughter Ashley went there too, and she would help me a lot. And I could see how happy my dad was after a long, devastating time. So, yes. My first day of school was so different than I imagined. Ashley had to delay going back to school for a month because she still hadn't recovered all her skin damage yet. So I ended up going alone. So, wow, this school was amazing. Seriously, take luxury and times it by about 100. Even the lockers were super expensive looking. I was afraid that if I scratched it, there was no way my parents would be able to afford the repairs. Not only were the facilities out of this world, but the students there were something else too. They looked so classy in stylish and expensive clothes. Even though the school had a uniform, it seemed like the only one wearing it was, well, it was me. Ugh, as bad as the uniform was, the thought of showing up in my cheap casual clothes was far worse. When I entered the classroom, everyone stared at me and looked me up and down. Then this glamorous girl walked over to me and said, "So, who are your parents, newbie?" I froze. I didn't expect this to be her first question, but it said a lot. Obviously, status here was important, so I knew that telling them my father was just a firefighter who would quit his job due to an injury, and I was here as a reward for his sacrifice, wouldn't cut it. I blurted out, "Mr. Adams." "Now where can I sit?" All of them were surprised. Another girl showed me an empty space at the front table. Looking at their attitude, I guessed Mr. Adams had been a very famous man in their world. The other girls stayed out of my way after that, but I could feel this one girl's glaring eyes on me. I knew I wasn't done with her. The next day, when I was by my locker, she came over with her group of friends and said, "Newbie, I know you're lying. Mr. Adams only has one daughter, Ashley, and she's my friend." Oh, no. This wasn't good. I tried to remain calm and replied, "I'm more than his daughter. He owes me and my family." They all looked surprised as I walked off, but hey, I didn't lie. He really does owe my family. If they happen to think this is down to debt or power, well, then that's not my fault, is it? That was not all. This school had some weird rules. It doesn't have regular high school clubs like music, chess, or cheerleading. Nope. Here, it's all down to status. There's a club for the celebrity kids, a club for the politicians' kids, and so on. I found this strange. Could no one here be themselves without clinging onto their parents' fame? Anyway, 1 week into school, and I was told that I had to attend my club meeting after school. Oh, so they themselves put me in a child of something family group. I didn't want to be classified as a dissident by themselves, too, so I reluctantly go to the hall to attend. I sat at the back of the room. It seemed to be a club for business tycoons' kids. Geez, it was so boring. So boring, in fact, that I was pretty sure the kid sitting next to me was sleeping. A boy whose dad owns one of the mega big companies droned on about how his father donated millions to the school. Worse still, everyone clapped and cheered him as if he'd saved the world or something. After half an hour of this fakeness, I'd had enough. So, glided past the sleeping guy so I could escape. But being the clumsy girl I am, I accidentally knocked his earphone jack slip out. Cue the loudest rumbling of music. Oops. The boy sat up and calmly turned off his music. I was still standing there with everyone looking at me when Mauve said, "Sarah, isn't it? Are you going somewhere? At least you should tell us what your family has done for this school. Or you think you can just enjoy the perks of this club?" Confused, I blurted out, "It's not like I need all this drama anyway." "Oh, is that so?" Mauve glared at me. I was about to gather up my stuff and hurry out of there when the guy beside me stood up and said, "She's right. No one cares about your dumb perks. This club is so boring it actually sent me to sleep." The room fell silent. This boy pulled me out of there. Wow. Who was this boy to say such a thing? I have to admit, I was kinda impressed, but also shocked. Out in the foyer, he turned to me and said, "I'm Noah. It's nice to meet an interesting girl like you." OMG! This Noah boy was so handsome. Before I could even think up a reply, he turned around and walked off. And wait, had he just said that I was interesting? Anyway, I didn't need any friends here. They all seemed so fake. All I needed to do was put my all into my studies and make the most of the education on offer here. The best class for me by far was art, and more specifically, plaster making. I loved creating plaster figures. I just got so absorbed into the art of it. Once I was working on my sculpture when this girl called Claire came up to me and whispered, "Are you on your period? Come with me to my locker if you need clothes to change into." I looked down at my skirt, and yep, she was right. Of course, I didn't have a backup outfit. Seeing me flustered, she suddenly took her Chanel tweed jacket off and tied it around my waist. Oh my God, what if I got it dirty? My panic continued when I saw inside of her locker. Wow, all of the items in there must have cost at least 4 digits. She grabbed this pretty dress, then pushed me toward the toilets. I changed into the dress. I'd never worn anything so expensive before. I stepped out of the cubicle, and she smiled and said, "You look amazing. I knew this color would complement your skin tone." Turns out that not only did she know loads about fashion, but she was also the sweetest girl. After that, I grew closer to Claire, but there was one thing I didn't understand. Why didn't an amazing girl like Claire have any other friends? One time during lunch, I asked her this, and she replied, "My mom's a famous actress, but she was afraid having me would affect her career, so she had me in secret. So here, I'm a nobody. But it's okay, because now I have you, and my amazing clothes, of course." Claire had shared her secret with me, so it seemed only fair that I shared mine. So I told her all about my dad and why I was really at this school. She hugged me and told me my dad was a true hero and I deserved my place at the school, far more than any of the other kids. It felt good having Claire to confide in, and was proof to me that not all the kids at this school were brats. Then one day, I walked into the class to see this pretty girl sitting at my table. Loads of kids surrounded her like she was royalty or something. She caught my eye and rushed over and hugged me and said, "I'll be forever grateful for what your father did for me. I'm so happy to have you as a sister, Sarah." It turns out that she was Ashley, the daughter of Mr. Adams. She invited me to have lunch with her, and I didn't want to be rude. I mean, it was Ashley's first day back and all. I spotted Claire alone on our usual table, and she looked sad when she saw where I was. I was going to ask Ashley if she could join us, but then I noticed that Claire had already left the cafeteria. I felt so out of place, as all they talked about was business news and their previous vacations to luxury hotels and private islands. Then suddenly this handsome boy came over and sat down next to Ashley. Wait, I recognized him. It was that Noah kid. Then he looked at Ashley and said, "Hey, long time no see." "Oh, he speaks," another girl said. "I was beginning to think you only want to know us when Ashley's around." Noah replied, "I have stuff I need to ask this girl." Another girl joked, "Stuff involving a fiancé and his bride-to-be, is it?" They all laughed, and I saw Ashley turn bright red. Then she turned to me and said, "Sarah, this is Noah, my boyfriend. And Noah, this is Sarah, the girl my father has told you about." What? He's her boyfriend? I looked in his direction and our eyes met. Hey, Sarah here again. So thanks to my hero father, I'd been transferred to a private school where all the rich and famous people's kids went. It was so amazing to study at this luxurious school, but the one downside was I felt like such an oddball there until Ashley, the girl whose life my father had saved, came back to school and was super friendly to me. Also, there was this one boy who caught my eye called Noah. He seemed so rebellious, but kind of friendly and normal to me somehow. But then, shocker, I found out he was Ashley's boyfriend. After introducing us, Ashley spotted Noah looking at me in a weird way, and surprisingly said, "Oh, so you guys know each other, huh?" He muttered out, "Yes, I saw this girl once in the club. What club was it?" I couldn't remember the name of the club either, so I just sat there smiling awkward. Ashley replied, "Oh, right," then stroked Noah's arm. To be honest, I felt kind of disappointed learning the fact that Noah and Ashley were a couple. Because, I did think about Noah a lot since the day I first met him. He stood up to save me from the awkward situation. Then he even said that I was interesting. And yes, this guy was beyond handsome. But what was I thinking? This world is not for me. I should just live quietly, focus on my study, then leave with a good profile for college admissions. Nothing more. After that, I didn't see much of Noah around school. Well, at least I didn't until we ended up in the same new drawing class. In the very first study, our teacher arranged for us to have a trip to a local art museum so we could have first impressions with modern art. I wandered off and studied the different paintings. Then a painting caught my eyes and made me stop to look at it. It was of a wildfire. At first glance, I noticed the off-balanced color scheme and layout. Moreover, in the scene of the fierce fire, destruction, and death, I sympathized with the creatures running away from the fire. My heart suddenly lightened as I thought about the courage of my father. Suddenly, I heard a voice behind me. "Looks intense, huh? The fire which enlightens is the same fire which consumes." I turned around, feeling a little surprised when I saw Noah. Then I smiled. "You know Henry Emile? I've read some of his books." I blurted out, "Wow, you don't look like someone who likes to read about philosophy." Ugh, talk about a cringy comment. But Noah just smiled and said, "So, you like his painting?" "Yeah. My life has turned to a new page just because of a fire." After that, we analyzed the special features of the painting, and turns out, as well as being cute, he's pretty smart too. Then I looked up and saw him looking at me. I don't know, perhaps it was because we felt the same way about the painting, but I found myself feeling a special connection toward him. Since he kept looking at me like that, I pretended to cough, and then Noah stroked my head and walked away. Oh dear, what did he just do? My heart was beating so fast and my face turned as red as a tomato, but then I just told myself that a pat on the head may mean nothing to him, right? Still, that night I couldn't stop thinking about him. Maybe he liked me. But no, I dismissed that thought. He was with Ashley, so I mustn't think about this anymore. The next morning at school, I was working on my plaster statue when suddenly someone swiped it. I watched in horror as it fell to the ground and lay there in a squashed-up mess. "Oh, sorry," a girl said in a sarcastic tone. "It's like you don't need all this drama and stuff around you." Jeez, I recognized her. It was that mauve girl, the one who hosted my former club. "Are you obsessed with me that much? Leave me alone." I fumed while sitting there trying to save the shape of my statue. "Oh, it's not that easy, babe. Let me tell you the first perk of our club, living in peace." All of her friends laughed along while Mauve stepped up, aiming at my statue again. At that moment, another voice piped up from the back of our class. "Do you want me to smash up yours too, or are you going to apologize properly to her?" That's when I saw Noah standing next to Mauve's statue, wobbling it back and forth. "Noah, why do you keep protecting her? Is she important to you?" "You just need to know that if you keep causing trouble to her, you'll have me to answer." Then he continued to wobble the statue and said, "Now, it's your call." "Fine, I'm very sorry." She rolled her eyes at me before she stormed over to her statue. Noah stopped wobbling it, then walked over to me and tried to help me with my statue. His clumsiness just made the shape getting worse, but made my heart melted before my mind could help it. "Sorry, seems like I ruined this thing more than she did." He looks at me with guilty eyes. "No, You're helping me to make a fresh start instead of fixing it." He just laughed. "We have to start too, Sarah. Do you see their angry eyes? We're in the same boat now." I looked over his shoulder to see the girls were fuming. But wait, Ashley was there too, and she looked not so happy. She walked over to me, hugged Noah around the neck, and said, "Noah, I'm hungry. Can we go to the canteen?" Then she turned back to give me a dirty look before they left. That look was her warning. For me. Okay, I definitely needed to keep my distance from Noah from now on. She had her reason for doing so. I could understand. Noah had never cared about anything at school, but now he even made friends with me. That must make her feel insecure. The problem was I just seemed to keep running into him. Speaking of which, after school I was getting my bike when he appeared. Feeling flustered, I thanked him again for earlier. He replied, "Don't just say thank you. How about a coffee?" Things with Ashley were hostile enough, so I replied, "Sorry, Noah, I have a family thing. And also it's a little awkward with, Ashley, don't you think?" At first he looked confused, but then he shrugged, said, "Okay," then walked off. Noah was such a sweet guy, but staying away from him was for the best, right? Besides, Claire had asked me to go over to her house to try out some of the new items that she just designed. We ate pizza, watched a movie together, and looked at the collection that she just finished. She photographed me in some of the clothes, and I posed like a professional model. We had so much fun. I had an amazing friend that was enough for high school life. No more other feelings, no more drama. But one day not long after that, when I was walking through the hallway at school, suddenly someone pulled my hand. Turns out it was Noah. He pulled me to the emergency exit and said, "Sarah, stop being friends with Claire. She's not real." At first I was quite surprised, but then I cleared my throat. "You are not telling me who I can be friends with. I'm not a kid." Then he took his phone out and showed me the pictures of me wearing Claire's clothes. Huh? Why did he have these pictures? I said, "So what? She had my permission to take these photos." "But not for posting them on the forum. Your pics hit 1,000,000 likes. What if you become famous? They will find out you're just a daughter of—" He hesitated. I was startled as he said that. He must have known my secret. Noah showed me Claire's post. She posted my pictures on the creative fashion forum to promote the outfits she designed with the message, "Even ugly ducklings can turn into swans when wearing these." Oh my God. What did she mean by that? In a detailed description, she even added my story, telling that my family was poor but my firefighter father still chose to risk his life to save others. We are not poor, and that was my secret. How could she use that to get people's compassion? She turned out to be worse than the others. She used me and laughed at me behind my back. Seeing my worried face, Noah reassured me that his family's company had signed a contract with Claire, so the photos would be removed from the forum soon according to the company's regulations. He saved me again, and this time it was from my best friend here, my only friend. I trusted her and told her all of my secrets, but turns out I was just a joke to her. From that day on, I avoided Claire. I didn't bother to confront her because I knew she would just try to fake her way out of it. One day I was sitting in the cafeteria with Ashley and a group of friends. Claire came to our table and said she wanted to talk to me. I was annoyed and didn't want to talk to her, so I ignored her. Claire looked confused and grabbed my arm and said, "Please, Sarah, I want to know what's going on." I shrugged her off and continued to ignore her. Seeing that, Ashley immediately stood up in a sarcastic tone, said, "Sorry, there's no private talk in this group." Then she looked at Claire. "Oh, wait, you don't belong here." That's when the other girls in the group laughed at Claire. She just stared at me, but I ignored her. I was still really mad at her. She ended up bursting into tears and running off. After Claire left, Ashley stood up and said, "Even a girl like Claire dares to hurt Sarah. That's totally unacceptable. So this weekend, my parents are away, so I'm throwing the party of the year. It's dedicated to Sarah. My family totally owes her, and I want the whole school to know that. So make sure you're all there." Wow, she was having a party in my name. I just wanted a quiet life, but maybe I did need this, so others could at least leave me alone. After everyone finished lunch and left, Ashley pulled me aside and whispered, "Hey, everyone's supposed to wear a costume. It's just a tradition of ours, royal kids." She winked at me, then left. I was freaking out about what to wear, but turns out I didn't need to worry. As soon after that, I received a parcel from Noah with the message, "To shine at the party." Noah was so kind to be this thoughtful, but honestly, I didn't feel very comfortable when he treated me this way. Anyway, I opened the box and saw Wonder Woman's suit. This costume was so beautiful, and I loved it. That night, I put on the costume and did my hair and makeup. I felt so awesome in my outfit and couldn't wait to go to the party and see everyone else's outfits. However, when I followed the staffs and walked in, I saw that all the other girls were in trendy dresses. What? What was going on? Why was no one else dressed up? I stood there in panic when I heard someone say, "Ew, our Wonder Woman has arrived." The other girls laughed frantically. Then they gathered around me and pulled me out into the middle of the room. I looked around to find Ashley, but the more I tried to look, the more terrified I got. They were all staring and laughing at me. I blushed in embarrassment. This was so humiliating. I couldn't believe that I was being pranked again by everyone in the school. I was about to run out of that party when the loudspeakers sounded on stage. Hey, Sarah here. So I thought that the kids at my school were finally starting to accept me. Ashley had invited me to her party. Not only that, but she dedicated it to me. Then Noah sent me this awesome Wonder Woman costume to wear it. I showed up at the party feeling great, but then my mood soon changed when I realized I was the only one there in a costume. The crowd gathered around me so I couldn't run away. I felt so humiliated and lonely. I didn't belong here. I felt foolish for ever thinking that I did. I searched the crowd for at least one friendly face but couldn't find one. This was awful. I knew I needed to get out of this nightmare right now. I desperately searched for the nearest exit and was about to push my way through the crowd to get to it. But then the big monitor behind me let out a crash sound, and I heard the crackling of flames. I looked back and saw that a shadow puppet show was playing on the monitor. I stared in shock at the familiar scene in front of me. There was a mansion on fire, and then a firefighter burst into it and carried a young girl out. Then he collapsed in his comrade's arms. I watched as they showed another girl standing next to the fireman. She leaped up and down as money fell on her. I knew that the girl was meant to be me, and that Ashley was behind this. She was the only one who knew the story well enough and the only one who could show the play here. The show went on, and I watched as a young man entered the frame with the young girl, and they kissed. Suddenly, the other girl came back on the screen and pulled the young man away from her. Then they ran off together. The ending scene was the young girl sitting alone and crying. The crowd booed and hissed at the screen. I stood there frozen. This was nonsense. I'd never stolen her boyfriend. Ashley must have misunderstood me, and this was going too far. Well, actually not far enough for her. As to my horror, the show continued. Ashley appeared in front of the screen with her microphone. Suddenly, the spotlight was on me, and at the same time, Ashley said, "Here she is, our real-life villain. Although it seems like she still thinks she's a hero. How could she do this to me? I trusted her and thought we were friends." All eyes were on me. They whispered, pointed, laughed, and threw dirty looks at me. I wiped my tears and tried to escape from the toxic crowd. That was when I bumped into Noah. Ashley might have misunderstood me, but how could Noah help her with that plan? What he did was far worse. I glared at him and said, "Thanks for the costume. Are you satisfied now?" He called my name and tried to say something, but all I cared about was getting out of there. It was the darkest day of my life, and I would never return to that school for monsters. No way. I explained to my mom what had happened, but I asked her to keep it a secret from Dad as I didn't want to upset him further, as he was still recovering from his injuries. So we told my dad that I was struggling with the work at the new school because I'd started so late. He supported me no matter what, but I know it kind of made him disappointed that I'd missed such a golden chance. I'm the daughter of the bravest firefighter. I will do my best to make him proud. I returned to my old school and realized how calm that world was in comparison to the rich kids' school. The only thing I did miss about that place was the plaster sculpture class. But it's okay. As I asked the art teacher for permission to start a plaster modeling club, she agreed, and I pinned the info on the notice board. No one seemed interested in it, but whatever. I was just happy that I could continue to make plaster models. The small club room was like a private domain, until one day Ben showed up. He walked in and asked, "Is anyone here?" At first this confused me, but then I noticed the tools in his hands, and realized that he wanted to join the club. I smiled and said, "Yes, me and Genevieve. Welcome to our club." It turned out that Ben was a master at this, and he showed me loads of tips and tricks. Together, we nurtured our dreams of going to the same art college and being able to open an exhibition of our own. He was so sweet. He always bought us snacks to share, never got annoyed if I asked him to explain something multiple times, and he was a great listener. I really liked having Ben as a friend. But the one downside was being around him reminded me of Noah. I know he turned out to be a jerk, but I couldn't deny the fact that I'd liked him a lot. Then one time in club, things got awkward. Ben showed up with a bag of heart-shaped candy and started saying, "Hey, Sarah, the thing is, I like..." I knew where he was going. I liked Ben, but only as a friend. I couldn't let him confess his feelings for me, as that'd make everything awkward. So I interrupted him. "Ben, I like you too. You're a great friend. Can you help me with this?" Then I pointed at a section of my statue. Ben tried to say something, but I kept pretending to be busy with other matters. Then he just gave up and helped me in silence. After that, he didn't try to tell me how he felt again, and we carried on being friends as normal. It was best for everyone. High school ended, and all of our efforts led me and Ben to a top art college. I was so excited, but I was also afraid to open up and make friends with anyone again, as this hadn't worked out well for me before. Ben seemed to understand all of my feelings, so he was always with me. I was so grateful to have Ben there. He was an amazing friend, and it was great being around someone who shared the same passion for art as I did. It was sweet that Ben cared for me, but at times he did take it a little far. Some of the other boys at college liked me, but they did not even have a chance to come close to me. I found out that Ben intercepted any gifts and cards they tried to send me and threw them in the trash. He even stopped them on the street when they tried to approach me on my way home, then demanded them to have a talk with him first. He took it so serious that I thought I was his little daughter. One time, when this guy told him that he'd meet me at all costs, Ben insisted on staying at my house so he could look out for me. I found the whole thing hilarious, and so did my dad. I guess how Ben acted looked odd to other people, too. Like, one time when we were having lunch, this guy stopped in front of our table and asked,
Is he your boyfriend? If not, he has no right to act so clingy.
To be honest, I didn't want to date anyone anyway. I didn't have time for boys. I wanted to focus on my art, so I grabbed Ben's hand and told the guy, "Yes, he does have the right, so you better beware of him." I could see Ben blushing and smiling. He didn't still like me, did he? The day of our final presentation arrived, and there were loads of talent agencies there to watch us. It could be considered as our very first interview. Recruiters were allowed to question us to make their employment decisions. It was so scary, but also exciting. Afterward, my lecturer told me that both I and Ben had received some great offers, including a company that wanted to hire the both of us. I immediately texted Ben to meet me on the college rooftop to celebrate. But when I saw him, I noticed that he looked sad. Okay, this made no sense. He should have been as excited as I was. I asked him, "What's wrong, Ben? We can still work together. I will confirm the deal, and I can't wait to work with you." But Ben sadly said, "Congrats, Sarah, but I'm so sad that I can't stay. You know, I always want to be with you, but I have my own dream to reach." His dream? I'd never thought to ask about his dream before. I'd just presumed it was the same as mine. Now I felt bad that I'd been so selfish toward him. Ben continued, "I got an offer from a museum in San Francisco. They said I could develop my idea for my project there. That's my dream, organizing my own art exhibitions, and I don't want to miss it. Could you come with me, Sarah?" The offer he'd received was amazing. They must have been extremely impressed with him. But as excited as I was for him, I wasn't sure about going with him. There was no company in San Fran that wanted me, but I had opportunities here. Ben could see through my feelings. He suddenly took my hands and said, "I love you, Sarah. You know that. Please give me a chance. I don't want us to be apart." I pulled my hands back. "I can't, Ben. This is your dream, and you should go for it, but it isn't mine. I know you'll be successful, and you can come back one day and find me." I trailed off. Seeing my resolute attitude, Ben didn't say anything more, but just looked away. That afternoon, I realized we had to grow up from young dreamers and become warriors of our future. After all, the future looked bright, and I was excited to see where mine would take me. Hey, it's Sarah here. So my school and college days had come to an end. Now I was stepping out into the big, wide world and trying to get my first job as a plaster statue maker. Today was an exciting but nerve-wracking day for me, as I had a meeting with a famous fashion company. Apparently, they were impressed with my portfolio and thought I was perfect for the job, so I was eager to find out what it involved and how a plaster modeler like me would fit in. First off, wow, the building was massive. The foyer was full of modern furniture and abstract artwork. I sat on the couch and waited, noticing how everyone looked so stylish with their trendy outfits and funky hairstyles. I felt a bit out of place in the dress I'd found in the sale, but I tried telling myself that I was here for my talent and not for wearing expensive outfits. After a few minutes, a nice lady came and said that the director was ready to see me in the meeting room. As I followed her there, I felt my heart beating like crazy. I couldn't believe that I had the opportunity to work with such a big company. For a girl who just graduated, this was a really big deal. But as soon as I entered the room, my mood changed. You will not believe who was sitting in the meeting room. It was Noah and Claire, my old classmates. So, what, Noah was the director now? And he was the one who wanted to hire me? Was this maybe another sick joke or something? I thought my school dramas were behind me, but now I was face to face with two people who'd stabbed me in the back. Noah stood up and said, "Hi, Sarah. It's good to see you again. Is this a joke? Are you both trying to make fun of me again? For your information, I'm not that girl anymore, so don't even think about it," I interrupted him with anger. Noah looked confused. "This isn't a joke, Sarah. It was never in school, either. You're here because we know how talented you are." They were all liars. I trusted them once, but never again. I turned my back on them and was about to walk out the door when Claire stood up and said, "I think she meant me. She's still mad at me because I used her story for my collection without asking her." Oh, so Claire remembered how she used my story, as if it was a joke just to raise the value of her collection. Claire continued, "Sarah, please listen. I'm sorry I took your pictures for my project without asking you first. I was so focused on the project that I didn't notice the feelings of the people around me." I turned around and replied, "Well, making fun of others isn't really art, don't you think?" She shook her head and said, "No, that wasn't my intention at all. Your story was inspiring, and I just wanted everybody to know about it. But I get it now. It was wrong of me. Can you please forgive me?" This made me so mad. So I replied, "Do you think a simple sorry will make up for it? You humiliated me." Claire came towards me, took my hand, and said, "I know. Trust me, I've regretted it for years. I still regret it now." I looked right into her eyes and said, "You really did hurt me that day. You know that?" Claire replied, "I know. Please give me a chance to make it up." Okay, so maybe she was sorry. I mean, she looked like she meant it. Besides, this wasn't school anymore. I at least needed to hear what she had to say. So I smiled at her and said, "Okay." She looked so relieved, then she hugged me. I noticed Noah smiling too, so I said, "Don't think that I forgot about that Wonder Woman costume." At first he looked confused, then said, "Wait, Sarah, that wasn't me. I didn't give you the costume." "Wait, what? You didn't?" Noah nodded and continued, "Of course I didn't. Why would I ever do that to you? We are on the same boat. Did you forget?" Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. All this time and it wasn't him? I misunderstood him and the feeling of being betrayed had haunted me for years, but it was all Ashley. "So, now that's cleared up, can we talk about the project?" he asked. Blushing, I nodded. They started telling me about the project, and wow, it sounded amazing. I was totally blown away. Forget the usual skinny models in every fashion show, as they wanted me to create plaster statues that would show off the charm of the human body. Each statue would have a unique shape. Silk was the theme material for Claire's collection. She would work with me to create costumes that would suit each plaster statue. They offered me the job, and I said yes! This was really a big challenge for me, but I couldn't wait to make it happen. Claire and I threw ourselves into the project, and it wasn't long before we bonded over lunchtime takeouts and after-work coffees. I must admit, it was good having her around. I guess I missed her more than I realized. To my surprise, Noah was also pretty great. This may have been his family's company, but turns out he was a good boss. Whenever Claire and I couldn't agree on something, Noah would jump in and give us an even better option. He always had these crazy ideas that Claire and I would never have thought of. This one time, the three of us ended up working later than expected, so I volunteered to go and grab some food from the place around the corner. As I was walking, I heard Noah call my name. Turns out he wanted to keep me company. Then, when he saw me shivering, he took off his jacket and put it around my shoulders. My heart felt like it skipped a beat, and I could smell his warmth around me. I'd forgotten what a sweet guy he could be. Uh-oh. Was I crushing on him again? But then a few days later, something happened. The three of us were having lunch when suddenly Noah's phone, which was lying on the table, rang. I could see on the screen that it was Ashley. Noah picked up the phone. "Oh, hey, Ashley. Yes, okay, I'll be there in a minute." And then he hung up and said, "Sorry, ladies, I have to go now. See you tomorrow. Bye." And then rushed out of there. I immediately turned to Claire and asked, "Was that the Ashley who just called?" Claire nodded. "Yes, ma'am, the one and only. It's such a shame that a great guy like Noah has to marry an awful person like Ashley." Wait, what? Did Claire just say marry? I tried to keep a calm voice when I asked her. "They're getting married?" "When?" Claire replied, "I think in the fall or something. I'm not really sure. Noah doesn't talk much about it. He's always quiet when it comes to this topic." Oh, great. I'd fallen for him all over again, only to lose him to Ashley. Again. I felt so disappointed, but at least now I knew what I had to do. From now on, I'd keep my feelings hidden and concentrate on my work. No way was I getting on Ashley's bad side again. After a lot of hard work and effort, we completed the project on time. Not only that, but the exhibition was a major success. Claire's stunning outfits and my awesome sculptures worked so well together. Turns out we made a great team. Claire's costumes sold out, and she received loads of orders. As for me, my statues were auctioned off with sales far greater than expected. To congratulate us, Noah threw a party for our team at this swanky bar in town. It felt so good to let my hair down for once, as I'd been working so hard of late. We had a really great time. Everybody was gathering on a table and was teasing each other, making jokes, and just having fun. I probably should have slowed down on the cocktails, as I soon ended up pretty drunk. After a while, Noah sat down next to me and asked me, "So, apart from being a talented sculptor, do you have any other hobbies?" I replied, "Of course I do. Duh. I don't know," I laughed. He continued asking, "What about food? Any favorite dish? And what about pets? Do you like pets?" I laughed and replied, "Oh, wow! Is this an interview or something? What's with all these personal questions?" Noah smiled and answered, "I want to get to know more about you, as I find myself curious about you." I felt my face turn bright red. What did he mean by that? Did he maybe also have feelings for me? But then I quickly kicked all these ridiculous thoughts out of my head. He was engaged to Ashley, so he was just being nice. Noah gazed at me oddly, which confused me. I didn't know what to do or say, so I stood up and said quickly, I need to go to the restroom," but assumed I had too many drinks because I almost tripped. Noah held my hand and insisted on helping me. His hand felt so warm. I knew I should pull my hand away, but I just couldn't. To be honest, I just wanted to fall into his arms. Maybe it was the alcohol talking. The next morning, I woke up. What the? This wasn't my room. I was in this luxurious, very modern room. The kind you see in 5-star luxury hotels. Oh my God! Where was I? I looked down at my body and, phew, still had my clothes on. So nothing happened, right? I took a deep breath to calm myself down, and then quickly grabbed my purse, which was on a chair, and sneaked out of the room. Geez, this apartment was huge. Where was the damn door? When I was still struggling to find a way out, I bumped into Noah, who just stepped out of the bathroom. Why are you here?" I mumbled out. But then I looked around and spotted a big picture of him and his family. Oh, great. I'd spent the night at his place. Hi everyone, it's Sarah here. So I had the ultimate blast from the past when I went to a meeting and ended up coming face to face with my old classmates, Noah and Claire. After years, we eventually had the chance to clear up misunderstandings. I was too hasty in concluding that they were all monsters who caused my past suffering. We let the past stay in the past and did a great job together. After that, I found my relationships blossoming between them both. But while Claire's was a growing friendship, with Noah there was some definite chemistry there. But he was engaged to Ashley, so I tried to keep my feelings hidden. At least that was until the night of the party when I drank way too much. So here I was in what must have been Noah's apartment. I was staring at him standing there in front of the bathroom. Before I could mumble out any sort of response, an angry girl burst in. Oh no, it was Ashley. She wasn't pleased that Noah was at home with a seemed-to-be drunk girl. He tried explaining to her that it wasn't what it looked like. That's when she took some photos from her purse and threw them on the floor. They were pictures of me and Noah from last night. There were some of us chatting at the table, one where we were laughing, and one of him helping me out of the bar and into his car. Oh my God, why did she have these pictures? Noah said he needed to change clothes first. Then we could all talk it out. He led Ashley out of the room, but a few seconds later she stormed back in and yelled at me. "It's you again, Sarah. I know you seduced my fiancé." "It's not like that," I muttered out. "I was drunk, and he was just being kind. There is nothing between us." "These say otherwise." She pointed to the pictures. "You think that because your dad saved my life, that you're entitled to not only the same education as me, but my fiancé too? Well, you're not. You're nothing." She lunged at me and reached out to grab my hair. Luckily, Noah, who was pulling his t-shirt over his head, rushed into the room. He grabbed Ashley and pulled her away from me. "When I come over later, she better be gone," she screamed at him, before she stormed out of the apartment, slamming the door behind her. I wanted to tell Noah how sorry I was, but I couldn't find the words. He took my hand and pulled me out of his apartment. We got into his car, and he drove me home in silence. When he pulled up outside of my place, he finally spoke. "Sarah, I'm really sorry about all this. Last night's a bit of a blur for me, but I can tell you this. Everything I did is my true feelings, because I love you. There's no one else like you. You're special, and I've always loved you, since high school. You feel the same way, right?" Oh my God! Noah had feelings for me too! So my mind wasn't messing with me. I knew it. For a minute, I was so happy to hear that. But then reality hit me. He was engaged to Ashley. I knew we couldn't be together, so I reluctantly said, "Noah, you're engaged to Ashley. You belong to somebody else. So we can't be together." Noah cut me off. I know. We're only engaged because it was our family's decision for business stuff. I don't love her, not like how I love you. Can you please wait for me? I will handle this." I was so confused. I was stuck in a love triangle that I never intended to be in. To be honest, I also had feelings for Noah, but I knew what kind of person Ashley was. If Noah left her for me, she would never stop trying to ruin my life. Sorry, Noah. I know what she's like. I still have the emotional scars from the last time she thought I was trying to steal you from her. I don't want to get involved in this drama with you and her. So please, let us just be friends." Noah was silent at first, but then he gave a solemn nod and said, "Okay, if that's what you wish." I got out of his car and watched him drive away. I'd made the best decision, right? I couldn't be with a guy who was engaged to someone else. After that, I buried myself in work. Only having Noah as my boss was not so easy, especially when Ashley started visiting him almost every day at work. Ugh. If watching her be all over Noah wasn't bad enough, I also had to endure her childish games. One time, she had 2 cups of coffee in her hand and accidentally spilled both of them on me and my desk. The coffee was so damn hot. Luckily, I didn't get burned. She feigned concerned, but I wasn't fooled. I knew that she'd done it on purpose. Then another time, when I went to the restroom, I caught her writing bad comments about me on the mirror with lipstick. I mean, seriously? I asked her why she was doing this, and she smirked and said, "You know why. Buckle up, as this is just the beginning." Then she laughed and went out of the restroom. Oh my God! How crazy she was! Turns out, she meant what she said. As a week later, I had a meeting with an important business partner. I was super nervous, so I went to my laptop to give my presentation one last scan through, and to my horror, the document had vanished. This made no sense, as it had been there last night before I went to bed. I'd triple-checked it. Somebody must have hacked my laptop. That's when I saw Ashley standing by the door with a scornful smile on her face. I instantly knew this was down to her. I whispered to Noah and Claire that I couldn't find the presentation on my laptop. They looked shocked, but Noah immediately explained to the partner that my laptop had a virus, so all the data had been deleted. So we needed to postpone the meeting. The partner looked furious and shouted at Noah, "Are you kidding me? A virus? I expected your company to be more professional, but clearly I was wrong. I hope you understand the importance of this exhibition." And then he left the meeting room. Oh my God, this was so embarrassing. It was my entire fault. I let the team down. And now we had to face consequences because of me. Could things even get worse? After that, Noah asked Claire to leave the room. Then he turned to me and said, "I know it's not your fault. Someone must have hacked your laptop. Don't worry, I will get to the bottom of this." It felt good knowing that he didn't blame me. He was such a sweet guy, which was exactly why I loved him. And worse still, I'd let him go so that Ashley wouldn't make my life a misery. But here she was, making my life one. Enough was enough. Ashley was a horrible person, and she didn't deserve a sweet guy like Noah. So before I stopped to think, I blurted out, "Noah, I need to tell you something. I love you too, and I think we should give ourselves a chance." Noah looked at me with surprised eyes, but after an agonizing wait of silence, he said, "Sarah, I'm really sorry. We can't. Ashley is the best choice for me. I hope you understand." His words hurt like crazy. How could he confess his love for me just a few days ago, and now tell me he wanted her, not me? Did he decide that his career was more important than love? But then, what did I expect? He was engaged. I felt like such a fool, so I nodded and said, "I understand." Then I rushed out of there. I needed to take my mind off everything. And luckily for me, a new project with Claire popped up, which involved Claire designing national costumes and me creating statues with poses to match. Plus, I got to design wheeled platforms so that the statues could move. This would be a big shot. I meant this idea was unique in the sculpture industry. One day I was waiting outside of the building for Claire to go get her car as we were going for dinner, when I heard someone call my name. I turned around, and to my surprise, I saw that it was Ben. "Sarah, it's so good to see you." He smiled. I stared at him in shock. "Wow, it's been so long. When did you come back? Why didn't you text me?" He smiled and said, "Well, I always knew I'd come back. Sarah, At that moment, Claire arrived. She smiled and looked out the car door to greet Ben. I regretted goodbye to him. So Ben and I switched numbers and arranged to meet up soon. It was great to have my best friend back here by my side. Claire grabbed my arm and said, "Ooh, who's he? He's very handsome." I laughed at her. "He's my friend Ben. So you like him, huh?" "Ah, his name is Ben. I think I have found the prince of my life. You have to help me, Sarah." I smiled and gave her an okay signal. She became really excited and couldn't stop asking about him during the meal. I thought they would become a cute couple. That weekend, I arranged to meet Ben at a restaurant. Ben was still very attentive and enthusiastic as before. It was so good to catch up with him, and we talked about our dream to one day open our own exhibition together. Then he said, "Do you remember our promise?" Of course I remembered it. We once promised to open an exhibition together. Then Ben continued, "My work in San Francisco had problems. Things didn't go well as I expected, but I've learned a lot. Now I'm confident enough to come back to find you and make our dream come true, but I need your help." I was so surprised by his suggestion. At the time, I was so busy with work that I wasn't sure how I'd manage both. But looking at Ben's face, I knew I couldn't turn him down. So after thinking for a while, I smiled at him and said, "Yes, of course. Let's make our dreams come true now." Okay, so combining both my job and working on this project with Ben was going far better than expected. I didn't tell anyone at work about my sideline project, though. I mean, they didn't affect each other or anything, but I still didn't think it would go down well with my colleagues. Then one evening, when I was around at Ben's working on the project, he turned to me and asked, "Do you remember my question? I'm still waiting for your answer." I could tell from the way he was looking at me that he meant the one after graduation when he'd asked to be my girlfriend. Wow, did this mean he still liked me, even after all this time? Ben is literally a lovebird, but what could I do? I myself am a lovebird too, spending my love to Noah all these years, even when he always had Ashley with him. I don't like Ben in that way, but I also don't want to lose him as a friend. It was too hard for me to say something now. Ben could see me feeling uncomfortable. He laughed and said, "It's okay, Sarah. Take your time. I can wait." Then we continued to discuss the project. Actually, I felt very guilty for not clearly rejecting him and giving him false hope, but I didn't want to hurt him. He was my best friend, so we'd be okay, right? Hey, it's Sarah again. So things between Noah and I became complicated after I blurted out to him that I wanted to be with him and he completely shut me down. This wasn't what he'd said a few days before this, so now I was so confused. I tried to put all my focus into work, but then I reconnected with Ben, and turns out he still loved me. After I left Ben's house, I thought things over. Back at graduation, I couldn't properly determine what my feelings were for him. Now I realized that my heart didn't belong to him. It belonged to Noah. I knew how sensitive Ben was, and the last thing I wanted was for my rejection to upset him. There was only one thing for it. I'd find him a new girl to focus on. Someone sweet and funny. Yep, I was talking about Claire. She was perfect. I put my plan into action by inviting both Ben and Claire to go bowling. Then I showed up a little late so they'd have one-on-one time to get to know each other. My plan looked like it worked because when I arrived, Claire and Ben were drinking sodas and talking, only when I joined them, I realized that it was Claire doing most of the chatting while Ben barely said a word but just politely forced his smile without looking in her eyes. He was just awkward meeting someone new, right? Afterward, Claire sent me dozens of messages saying how cute she thought Ben was and how well they got on. I figured that Ben just needed a little more time to get to know Claire. Then he'd see how perfect she was for him. Anyway, back to my Noah problems. Seeing him at work after my failed confession was hard. I tried to be normal around him, but every time I caught a glimpse of him, my heart ached. I tried avoiding him as much as possible, but I just kept bumping into him somehow. I was on my way home from work when my car stalled. I was about to call for help, but as I was on the phone, I noticed Noah's convertible car pulled up alongside me. Then he said, "Get in the car, I'll take you home." I was a bit confused, but I didn't want to be stuck there alone this late and waiting for hours. So I got into his car. At first, there was this super awkward silence. Noah just kept quiet and drove, but then he hesitated. "Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened. I never wanted to make you sad. I understand, Noah. You don't need to explain anything. You're an engaged man, so I was just being dumb." Another silence came between us. In my life, his car became the stuffiest place I'd ever been. He pulled up outside my house, I forced a smile, and mouthed thanks before I got out of his car to walk home. But it only took a few steps before a hand suddenly pulled me back. "Sarah, it's not like that. Actually," Noah was about to say more when suddenly a voice came from behind me. "Sarah, why are you so late? And who is this man?" It was Ben. In all the commotion, I'd completely forgotten we'd made plans for him to come around this evening to discuss the project. I replied, "He's my boss. My car broke down, so he kindly helped me out." Ben stared at Noah and said in an unfriendly voice, "Oh, thanks for taking my friend home. Now you can go." Then he pulled me forward. I just turned around and waved to Noah. Ben's attitude was so strange. He was normally very polite, but why was he rude to Noah? What was wrong with him? He was in a vile mood, and as the night went on, this only seemed to worsen. We had consistently conflicting opinions. I wanted to add creative and alternative ideas to the plaster statues, but Ben rejected all those ideas. I knew he was old-fashioned and was unsure about my creative suggestions, but he wouldn't even hear me out. My ideas don't make plaster art any less valuable. Instead, it makes them stand out, which could attract younger audiences. He sneered, then said, "Your views on plaster art have changed, and so have you." What? Why did he think that? I gave him an example to let him understand what I was doing, that in my company's upcoming project, the statues would be dressed like a real person, and even they would be able to move. Ben panicked and said, "Oh my God, it was an offense. If your statues are dressed in those costumes, how can people see the beauty of sculpture?" The more I tried to explain this to Ben, the angrier he got. Then he yelled at me, "Sarah, that boss and that damn company have changed you." I shouted back, "Why are you so stubborn?" Ben continued, "I don't think I need your help anymore. I'll do the project myself." Then he left. What? I couldn't believe this. I'd been working my butt off trying to juggle work and this project. Besides, he'd asked for my help in the first place. Ugh! I agreed to work with him just because I respect our friendship, and now what he said? Okay, it was fine. I was too tired and I didn't have time to go argue with him. After that, I spent all my time on the company's project with Claire. Meanwhile, I also heard from Claire that Ben's project had problems. It seemed he was having financial difficulties implementing the project. I felt a bit guilty because I promised to contribute money with him to do this project. But now, it was his choice. So he had to deal with it himself. Fortunately, he now had Claire by his side, so I hoped she could help him through this difficult time. Finally, after months of plenty of sweat and tears, the launch day of the new collection arrived. Due to the success from the previous project, this fashion show was much more crowded. Mostly fashion enthusiasts and local plaster lovers. Then the show started, the lights went out, and I held my breath as my statues moved along the catwalk. The light from the platform combined with the spotlight made them look like they were giving off an aura. It was such a success, and a huge number of orders were placed. Claire and I smiled happily together, so our efforts over the past few months had paid off. At the end of the show, Noah thanked the audience and the press. Then he invited me and Claire onto the stage and introduced us. He excitedly told everyone that the designer of the collection was Claire, and all these statues and the idea of making them move were all my own. Everyone was in awe, looked at me admiringly, and congratulated me. Receiving such compliments, it felt like I was on top of the world. Suddenly, there was a journalist who wanted to ask me some questions, and of course, I agreed. I've received information that the idea about your statues are stolen, and I have evidence. Then he showed everyone photos of statues that looked exactly like my blueprints. So, could you please tell us if this is true or not? He asked. What? What was he asking? All of these statues were my own ideas. Everyone started talking. I heard some comments such as, "Oh, it's unbelievable. So much for her ideas being unique. And if that's true, are the costume ideas also stolen?" Then a series of flashes and microphones pointed at me and Claire. I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what to do. Suddenly I felt someone pulling on my hand. It was Noah. When we were out of the room, he said, "My driver will take you home. I have to get back to deal with this." "Noah, trust me. They are all my ideas. I'd never steal anyone else's." "Sarah, I know that. I will find out who's behind this." The news that I was the idea thief spread like wildfire, and each day, fresh calls came in to cancel their orders. This was awful. Claire and I had worked so hard on that project, and now it all seemed for nothing. Worse still, if this issue didn't get sorted soon, no one would ever want to work with either of us ever again. The company was also suffering. Their reputation had declined, along with their finances. That made me feel extremely guilty, even though I was just a victim of this vandalism. I just couldn't figure out how my blueprints were leaked, as only the people in our group knew about them. Could one of them betray us? I scratched my head thinking about this. I was desperate to know if Noah had any news about this, so I went to his office. As I walked to the door, I heard Claire's voice. "Don't press him this hard, please." Then Noah replied, "Ashley knows it was Ben who did this. She's certain Sarah was the one who revealed all the blueprints to him. If something isn't done about this, her family will withdraw their company shares, and I can't let that happen." I couldn't believe what I just heard. How painful it was when being stabbed in the back. It turns out Ben did it. I mentioned my ideas to him before, but I just said a little bit about it. How could he make an exact copy? I immediately texted Ben to ask to meet him at the coffee shop near my company. As soon as Ben arrived, he made a guilty face. Just waiting for him to sit down, I angrily looked at him and said, "Did you really do it?" He looked guilty and admitted that when his project came to a standstill because he needed money, Ashley appeared and said she'd help with one condition. He had to help her ruin my project. As well as the money, he wanted me to realize that my crazy creations, well, as he called them, weren't good for my career. So he agreed to Ashley's demands. "I didn't do it just for my exhibition," Ben continued. "I want you to leave that company, leave Noah, and then we can start over." This wasn't for you to decide. I know you despise the direction I've chosen to take my artwork in, but that doesn't give you the right to do what you did. I trusted you, and you destroyed my career. And what for? For some money? "It wasn't like that, Sarah," he replied. "How did you get my blueprints?" I tried to control my anger and asked. I approached Claire, Ben said, falteringly. He took advantage of Claire's feelings and trust and dragged her into this whole mess. I couldn't control it anymore. I shouted, "You're a coward! Do you know that Claire is still begging for you even though she knows you took advantage of her?" Ben looked quite shocked. He stammered, "Is that true? Why is she—" Then he had a guilty look on his face and said, "Please stop her. I don't want her to throw her career away because of me." I shrugged and said, "But it's fine for you to destroy mine. This is your doing, so go and handle it yourself." Then I immediately left. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed thinking about what just happened. Turns out Ben wasn't the guy I thought he was, and I never wanted to talk to him ever again. I was even more surprised that Ashley was the one behind this. I felt so low. I had nothing left. I'd lost the man I loved, my promising career, and I'd been betrayed by my supposed best friend. I'd also introduced Claire to him and messed things up for her too. After the worst night's sleep ever, I woke up and knew what I needed to do. So I went straight to Noah's office and resigned. After this incident, I was unable to continue working at the company. I really hoped that after I left, Ben and Claire wouldn't be held responsible anymore. Then I said, "It was me." I revealed the detailed blueprint to Ben. "Don't blame him. Blame me." His face turned red when he said, "What? How could you? Unexpectedly, you dared to sell the company outright because of your lover? I have nothing more to say to you. Go out." His words were like sharp knives stabbing into my heart. I guess a part of me hoped he wouldn't believe me and wouldn't let me go, but turns out I was wrong. There was nothing left for me here now. As I walked out of his office, I stood helplessly against the wall, then burst into tears. I couldn't do anything more. So I stopped crying, then went over to my desk and packed up my things. That night I lay in bed in a daze until I fell asleep. The next morning, my ringing phone woke me up. I couldn't believe what I saw. Hey, it's Sarah here with the final part of my story. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. So in the last episode, I found out that Ben had betrayed me, and in doing so ruined my career. So I took the blame and left my job, but I had no idea what I was meant to do next. My ringing phone woke me up. What was going on? I drowsily reached for it, then saw tons of messages from my friends and colleagues. I skimmed through them, and to my surprise, they all included the same link. Okay, this was strange. I clicked on it and found that it was a video of Ben and Claire. I pressed play, and in it, a crying Claire admitted that she was the person who had revealed my design to Ben. And Ben said that led on by personal reasons, he'd slandered me for being a copycat. Both of them apologized to the company and to me. I scrolled down. There were thousands of comments below their video, and most of them were negative, calling them traitors and so on. I called Claire to check on her, but her phone was off. She was probably avoiding all of the horrible comments. I hoped she was with Ben now, and they could rely on each other to get through this difficult time. After hearing that Claire was begging for his fault, Ben must have realized that he was terribly wrong, then came to her to correct everything. So, the truth was out, but I didn't feel good about this. Instead, all I felt was sad. Noah thought I was capable of betraying him, when this whole vindictive plan had been Ashley's. At that point, I saw tens of messages and missed calls from Noah, but I didn't want to answer just to hear him feeling sorry for me. It hurted me so bad, thinking that when the incident happened, all he cared about was her demand and her family's shares in the company, and that I was nothing to him but a betrayer. My heart ached. Then suddenly there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Noah standing there. He was panting and his shirt was damp with sweat. "What? Why are you here?" I asked. As soon as seeing me, he hugged me tightly. "What's wrong?" I asked. After some seconds, he said, "You didn't answer, so I was afraid something bad had happened. You were sad and I was so cruel," and I just smiled at him. "See, I'm totally good." Then I asked him to come in. At least I should hide my feelings and treat him like a friend, right? We sat on the couch, and Noah kept staring at me. I joked, "Is there anything on my face?" He said seriously, "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I watched the video this morning, and it's all my fault for not believing you." I replied, "Yeah, that hurt, but you're the boss, so you did what you had to do." Without letting me finish my sentence, he continued, "No, there was no excuse for not believing you. Ben texted me last night and told me everything. He said he loved you, but you don't feel the same, and this made him act like a jerk." So now, no one knew the truth, but for what? He had Ashley and he was marrying her. I smiled at him and said, "It's okay. It's all over. You should care about Ashley more than you thought. This might not happen if she didn't feel insecure that much about your relationship. You have Ashley, so take care of her." He was flustered and then tried to explain, "Sarah, please hear me out. I want you. I always have. I only turned you down because Ashley threatened me." So it turned out that Ashley threatened to destroy my career and make my life a misery at all cost if he dared to break up with her. "That's why I turned you down. I know she really means what she says, and I just want to keep you safe away from her. Little did I know that Ashley tried to wreck your life regardless," he said. Then he gave me a determined look and continued, "Sarah, I tried to ignore my feelings for you, to please my family once before when we were in high school, and I almost lost you again for that damn family company. But now I realize that without you, everything is meaningless. Please forgive me." I couldn't believe this was happening. Finally, we could be together, right? We'd both wasted enough time, but could it really be that simple? He could see me hesitating and immediately grabbed my hand and insisted I go with him somewhere. I asked him where, but he just smiled, patted my head, and said I'd know soon enough. I was kind of confused, but looking at his determined eyes, I knew I could trust him. As we pulled up to this impressive mansion, I realized that I'd been here before, back at the party where Ashley humiliated me. This was her family's home. I was hesitant, but he assured me it'd be okay and led me inside. There I saw Mr. Adams sitting on the couch and reading the newspaper. I turned to Noah and whispered, "What are we doing here?" He looked right into my eyes and said, "Getting you the justice you deserve." Mr. Adams heard the noise and looked back, seeing me and Noah. He was kind of surprised. "Noah, are you here to find Ashley? She's still in her room. And is this lady—" "Yes, this is Sarah, the daughter of the fireman who saved Ashley's life." Mr. Adams gasped in surprise, then said, "Oh, it is you! How is your father?" I smiled politely and said, "It's nice to meet you. My dad is fine, thanks." Then he asked me some questions about my dad and my job. He was so surprised to know that I was working in Noah's company. Then Noah said, "Mr. Adams, I have something to say." And then he told him everything about how Ashley had teased me 5 years ago and the reason why I moved back to my previous school. Then he told him how she'd planned to ruin my career. Mr. Adams was furious. He immediately called Ashley to come downstairs. Ashley's face was priceless. When she stepped down and saw me sitting in her house, she muttered out, What are you doing here?" Mr. Adams told her to sit down, then said, "Tell me what you did to Sarah, now." She yelled back, "Dad, nothing." Then she turned to me, "First, you stole my fiancé, and now you're slandering me to my own father? You're such a liar." Mr. Adams angrily said, "Stop lying, Ashley. Noah told me everything, and I believe him. Sarah's father saved your life, and as a result of his injuries, he had to give up the job he loved. Yet you did this to his daughter? Why?" Ashley looked furious. It seemed that her dad had never scolded her before. She shouted, "Yes, I did everything, but she betrayed me first. I thought we were friends, but she tried to steal Noah from me back at school, and she's still trying to do it now, even though she knows we're engaged." At this moment, Noah spoke out. "It's all my fault, so stop blaming Sarah. Back then I didn't stand up for her, but I won't be that cowardly again." Ashley held back her tears. Honestly, I felt bad for her, so I motioned Noah to stop talking. He just held my hand tight and turned to Mr. Adams, then continued, "I didn't dare to confess my feelings because I was scared that you would withdraw your shares. But now I don't want to hide my love anymore. For me, the engagement was just a business thing. I don't love Ashley. Sarah is always the one I love, and I want to cancel the wedding. No matter what you do, Mr. Adams, I'll accept it." Mr. Adams sighed. "Sarah, on behalf of my daughter, I'm so sorry for what she did to you. Tomorrow, I'll organize a press conference to officially announce the truth to the public and vindicate you." Then he looked at Noah and continued, "And Noah, don't worry about the company. As for me, work is work, and it doesn't relate to personal affairs." Then he turned to Ashley. "Remember, Ashley, you can't force someone to love you because this will bring you nothing but pain and turn you into someone you don't want to be." The next day, the press conference was held, and the room was packed with journalists. Mr. Adams officially confirmed that Ben and Claire's confession video was true, and I was innocent. He also affirmed my talent. He said that he wouldn't investigate this more because Ben and Claire were also talented artists who made one bad lapse in judgment, and as a clear-sighted investor, he would keep facilitating young talented creators. He didn't mention anything about Ashley's fault, but then this was expected, as she was his daughter. On the way back home, I received a video message from Claire. Contrary to the complicated situation here, Claire and Ben were enjoying a trip on a remote island. Through all this mess, they'd found love, and I was so happy for them both. I did always say that given time, they'd make the perfect couple. Seeing how happy they were reminded me of my relationship with Noah. We loved each other, but couldn't be free to show it like they do. I avoided to face him, as technically, he was still engaged to Ashley, and the last thing I wanted was to be a wrecker. Then one evening, Ashley messaged me saying, "I'm at Terrace Cafe. I have something to say to you. Don't keep me waiting." Ugh, what could she possibly want to say to me? I was so curious, though. So, I went to meet her. I arrived to find her and Noah sitting at a table and chatting to each other. I was kind of worried, and my legs seemed to be stuck to the ground. I didn't dare to walk toward them. She called me out to let me see how they looked good together, didn't she? I was about to leave, but at that point, Noah saw me and he immediately came toward me and led me to the seat. Ashley said to me, "You see, we are back together." I should know how ridiculous she was before agreeing to come. Now I stuck myself in this humiliating situation. Suddenly, Ashley laughed out loud and said, "Just kidding, don't be so serious. Look, I'm sorry. I behaved badly and disappointed my father. So I've decided that you can have Noah." Then she smiled, "But don't expect me to wish you happiness or anything." To my surprise, Noah turned me around to face him and said, "We are no longer engaged. Now I'm officially yours, Sarah, if you let me." I almost cried happy tears when Noah asked me, and I never thought that I finally could say yes to him right in front of my used-to-be enemy. 3 months later, everything returned to some sort of normal. Everyone in the company knew that Noah and I were dating, and they all were happy for us. I spent most of my time sculpting, and it was great to follow my passion. As for Ashley, news is she's doing a master's course in England. And as for Claire and Ben, well, their love continued to blossom so fast that after just months of being together, they announced their wedding. Noah came with me to the ceremony, but as soon as we got there, he had to rush off to solve some issues at the company. I was kind of disappointed, but I tried not to show it, as it was my best friend's wedding, and I was so happy for them both. Then Claire threw the bouquet, and as the belief goes, I wanted to be the one to catch it and marry next. We were all ready to leap for it, but then Claire turned back and walked away. We were so confused. What was she doing? Then she walked towards someone. It was Noah. Noah? He was back from work? She gave him the bouquet, and he immediately ran toward me. And to my surprise, he got down on one knee, handed me the bouquet, pulled out this amazing diamond ring, and said, "Sarah, I don't want to lose any more time due to my dumb mistakes. I want to protect you and spend my life with you. So what do you think? Will you marry me?" I couldn't believe my eyes. Noah had this whole thing planned. It was so romantic. I blushed and obviously said yes. Then to cheering and applause, we kissed. Now I'm engaged to the man of my dreams, and hopefully no more obstacles will get in the way of our love. But if they do, well then I say bring them on, as love conquers all. In the first part of my story, I told you how I moved to LA to chase my crush Jacob, but when I arrived, I quickly discovered that he already had a girlfriend called Sarah, and that if I wanted to win him over, I had to get rid of her first. But then Sarah got into a dangerous situation, and ironically, the only person who could help her was me, her enemy. Even though she was the last person I wanted to help, I knew I couldn't be selfish. I had to do something, and quickly. I was so anxious as I watched the guys lead her outside. Where were they going? Did they plan to harm her? I ran to find Jacob in panic, but he was getting blackout drunk and I couldn't wake him up. At that point, I was freaking out, but suddenly I remembered that Patrick was just upstairs. I ran up to get him and told him what had happened, and he raced downstairs just in time to see those guys getting into a pickup truck with Sarah. Patrick ran towards them and then quickly ducked down so they wouldn't see him. He opened the back of the truck and then quickly closed it again and came back over to me. "What the heck are you doing?" I whispered to him. Suddenly the truck was driving off. Why hadn't he stopped them? Then he told me he dropped his phone in their trunk. I didn't understand. "Why would you do something stupid like that?" I asked him. He took my phone and logged into his iCloud, and then he showed me a red dot on the satellite map. It was his phone, and the red dot was moving. Oh my God, he was so smart. We ran to the garage to get his car, or at least so I thought anyway, but then he threw a helmet at me and I realized we were about to go on a wild ride on his motorbike. But there was no time to argue. This could literally be a matter of life and death. So I jumped on and off we went. There I was, sitting behind the biggest nerd on a motorbike in my designer dress that kept flying up in the wind. I was holding my phone in one hand so that I could direct him. "They're heading for the forest," I told him. "This is way too dangerous. Let's just call the cops," I suggested. But he just replied saying, "Hold on tight, you can trust me." Wow, I'd never heard him speak like that before. So brave and determined. As he sped up, I found myself holding on to him even more tightly, almost hugging him. When had he become so big and muscular? The shy little boy he'd always been was suddenly nowhere in sight. Patrick had become strong and brave, and I have to be honest, I liked it. I could see on the map that they'd stopped at some house, and as we got closer, we saw that it was definitely an abandoned house. We hid behind a tree at a safe distance and started walking through the trees toward the house. Of course, Patrick sent the police our location and told them to hurry. Then we went around to the back of the house to see what was happening. On our way there, Patrick led the way, and even held my hand to make sure I didn't fall. I felt so safe, like a little kid, and didn't want to let him go. Oh my God, how blind had I been? Patrick was right in front of me this whole time, and I'd been too busy focusing on Jacob to even notice him. By the time we reached the house, we crouched down under a window so that we could peek inside. There was a light shining inside, so I had a look, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The room looked like some kind of headquarters, and even though it was in an abandoned house, there were tables set up and weird shapes on the wall and stuff. Then I noticed Sarah. She was sitting on the sofa, leaning on one of them. One of the guys was giving her something to drink, and I started panicking even more because she already looked really drunk. Then another guy walked in, and I heard him say, "Shall we start now?" The others laughed and said, "Just one more minute." Then the same guy kept giving her more of the drink. She couldn't even open her eyes by then. She was basically unconscious. I turned to Patrick and asked him if the police were on their way. Then I told him we couldn't wait any longer. We had to help her, but Patrick told me to calm down. Then he held my hand and we went around the side of the house to the back door. We snuck in as quietly as possible, and Patrick asked me to hide in a blind corner of the house. Then he took my phone and said, "I'll be back in a minute, don't worry," and ran upstairs. A minute later he was back and he gave me a huge hug and said, "If you hear anything, don't panic, it's just your phone making the sound." Then right at that moment I heard the sound of people talking upstairs. Honestly, if Patrick hadn't warned me, I'd have screamed my head off. I got such a fright. The three guys ran upstairs to where the noise was coming from, and while they searched around, Patrick pulled me into the room so we could save Sarah. He grabbed her and was about to put her on his back and give her a piggyback when she opened her eyes and shouted, "What on earth are you doing?" I replied to her, "Oh, thank God you're awake. Keep quiet and follow us quickly, otherwise they'll hurt you." And then she said, "No one wants to hurt me, you idiot." And then she shouted for the guys to come back. They arrived in a second, and suddenly one of them had a hold of me, and two others grabbed Patrick. They were laughing, and the one holding me said, "Time to pay the price for interrupting our fun, you freak." Then Sarah said, "Let Casey entertain us tonight. I'm sure she'll be good at it." Then she brought out her phone and started filming and said, "If you tell people what you're about to see here tonight, your life will be over." That was it. I was so naive as not to realize that Sarah and the guys were on the same side of the fence. At that, the guy holding me pushed me down onto the sofa and held me so tightly I couldn't move an inch. I didn't know what was going to happen to me, but suddenly there was a loud noise behind us, and Patrick managed to escape by pushing the guys away. He started fighting with the three guys, so I used that opportunity to get up, but Sarah grabbed me, and I had to pull her hair and try to get free. Luckily, the police arrived at that exact moment. I dread to think what could have happened to us if they hadn't arrived right then. It ended up being such an exhausting night. We went to the police station and we were all interrogated. Sarah kept crying and tried to act like a victim, but the police discovered she had high levels of alcohol in her bloodstream, and then, of course, there was a video on her phone where she threatened me. The guys also admitted that they had come there quite often, and that night was not the first time they went wild together. Now I understand how crazy and dangerous LA is. The whole time I thought she was some kind of innocent victim and risked my life to help her. After that night, Jacob realized just how awful Sarah was. I didn't understand how we hadn't seen how fake she was all along, but at least it was all out in the open now. And of course, after that, Jacob started flirting with me. But for some reason, I just wasn't interested in him anymore. After all my hard work to win him over, I realized he wasn't the one I wanted to be with. There was someone else that was making my heart race. The one who let me hold him so tightly on the back of his motorbike. Who made me feel so safe and who would do anything to protect me. Like kicking rocks aside and holding my hand so I wouldn't trip. The calmest, smartest guy. The one who I have always been able to count on. He was right there all along. My Patrick. Do you think I should tell him how I feel? Or should I go out with Jacob after all the effort it took me to get him to notice me? Who am I kidding? Let's be honest. It wasn't a hard choice to make. I told Patrick how I felt, and oh my God, he went crazy. I've never seen anyone so happy before. He told me he'd been in love with me ever since we were kids, but he'd never dared to tell me because he was afraid that I'd laugh in his face and make our friendship super awkward. But guess what? Now we're together and we're so happy. So I guess moving to LA wasn't such a bad decision after all, right? A happy ending, even if it wasn't the one that I expected. But sometimes those are the best kinds of endings.
Hi, I'm Jackson, your standard high school guy. There's this girl at school called Sally who's anything but average. She's probably the best-looking girl I've ever seen in my life. It's odd, as other pretty girls seem to love attention, but not Sally. She rejects all flirtations and date offers, even when they come from the best-looking guys in school. She even turned down Damien, this handsome, funny, smart guy. I mean, if I was gay, I'd definitely be in love with him. But Sally told him he's not right for her. Because of this, everyone thought she was either crazy, delusional due to the unrealistic, soppy romance novels she's always reading, or that she has odd taste in guys. Turns out the latter was the right answer. As a humble, skinny, and shy guy's her type, yeah, that'll be me. I'm not used to girls showing interest in me, especially not girls like her. So when she kept on touching my arm and laughing at everything I said and twirling her hair in front of me, I thought she was joking. Then the love notes started appearing in my locker. Notes written in pink font on how we were the perfect match and we were meant to be. They were always signed S, but I thought it was someone's idea of a non-funny joke, so I binned the notes. Then one time I was doing this, Sally appeared with teary eyes and said, "Okay, so you're in denial about your feelings towards me, but you don't have to throw them away." I felt terrible. So bad, in fact, that I ended up agreeing to go on a date with her. This was so far out of my comfort zone, I was too awkward to enjoy dating, especially with the school celebrity. We went to a restaurant in town, and turns out we got along quite well. She was very sweet, caring, and affectionate. Maybe a girl like her actually could like a guy like me. After that, we began dating. It was odd for me, as being a blend into the crowd kind of guy was impossible now that I was Sally's boyfriend. Other kids just didn't get what she saw in me, but she assured me that we were made for each other. At times, her intuition was spot on. She seemed to know that I was massively into sci-fi, and she surprised me with a Star Wars keychain. But other times, it was like she didn't know me at all. Such as when she bought me a gross lime green shirt to wear because I like being edgy. I told her I'm already the ugly one in our relationship without wearing that. She also asked me to go hiking, but I hated outdoor activities. Besides, heights terrified me. But when I told her that, she insisted that it was definitely what I wanted. I just hadn't realized it yet. One time, Sally and I were chilling on the couch, watching some reality TV show she likes, when my neighbor Safi came around to bring back the dishes her mom had borrowed. After Safi left, Sally started acting weird. She kept on asking me when Safi's birthday was. How was I meant to know that? She wouldn't let it lie, so in the end I had to look it up on her social network page. I thought telling Sally this would shut her up, but no. This information seemed to turn her into another person. She screamed at me to never see or talk to Safi again. This made no sense, so I asked her why. She cried and told me the reason was because Safi was a Gemini. She's a Gemini too, and she's afraid that another Gemini girl would get along with me better than her. I was left speechless. I've heard about the zodiac, but have never believed them. All descriptions are general and can be true for anyone. Furthermore, according to my sign, I'm tech-savvy and love heights. No. But it seems my girlfriend's obsessed with those theories. It turns out that she bases everything on online analysis of the zodiac. And it's ridiculous that the reason why she chose me is that I'm an Aquarius. She kept saying something about my moon sign, sun sign, and the raising ascendant, and I didn't understand it at all. I like Sally, so I put up with her randomness, but then she got too serious. One time at the mall, she stopped in front of a wedding dress shop window and told me how she couldn't wait to marry me. Then another time we were in the park and saw a little girl feeding the ducks with her mom. Sally grabbed my arm and told me how she couldn't wait to have babies with me. Okay, so this freaked me out. We were both only 17. What was the rush? When I told her I wasn't ready for that, she burst into tears and said that it's true that an Aquarius guy like me doesn't want to be in a serious relationship, and that she was just part of my game. I made it clear that I love her, but both of us weren't ready for that. She seemed better after that. Then a week later, she sent me a message telling me she'd been thinking. Initially, she thought, as we were both air signs, we'd work well together. We're free thinkers, easygoing and smart, and being an Aquarius, I can handle her impulsive nature. But I'm not taking this serious enough, so she needs to find a Libra. I managed to talk her around, but then soon after that, she went weird again. She told me that she must have a child soon so they'd be a Sagittarius. If I didn't help, then she'd find another guy to get her pregnant. The more I heard, the more shocked I was. She said she'd found a Libra guy who, according to her, had good genes, both in appearance and talent. But she added that she loved me, one and only, and just wanted me to be her husband and her child's father because my zodiac had all the right things. It's going too far. My girl is going crazy about all these stupid theories. There's no way I'm having a kid at this young age. But I'm obviously not cool about her going off and getting pregnant with some other guy's kid. Now I don't know what to do. How can I get her to come out of this obsessive and unhealthy zodiac bubble she lives in?
I went to the football team party certain that I was finally going to hook up with my crush Ian. Only I found Ian kissing my best friend Liv. Now I was sitting outside on the curb feeling dreadful. Geez, this night sucked. I stared at the black vehicle. Why was it following me? Maybe I should go and check it out. Suddenly, a hand tapped my shoulder. Startled, I turned around and saw that it was Ian. "Thank you so much, Meg, for setting me up with Liv. Don't worry, I'll definitely pay you back. How about lunch on Sunday? My treat." He winked, then walked off. I sat there, open-mouthed. Was he serious? He hadn't even noticed that I was crying. What a jerk. I felt like I was about to blow. My sobbing increased. I felt so rejected. So, does that mean he didn't like me, but he liked Liv? Had he ever liked me? What was wrong with me? Worse still, Liv knows I have a massive crush on him, but she still kissed him? I felt so betrayed. I'd lost both my crush and best friend in the same night. This party was terrible. Suddenly, I remembered the black vehicle, so I looked over to where it was. Only, it wasn't there anymore. I shrugged. I had bigger things to deal with right now than some weirdo in a posh car. The tears wouldn't stop. I was basically a waterfall. I wiped them onto the back of my arm, but this didn't help much. Someone sat down next to me. A guy. "Hey, what's wrong?" he asked. Through blurry eyes, I realized that it was the cute guy who'd been eyeing me up earlier at the party. I was too upset to reply to him, so I just sat there crying and shivering, which wasn't a good look. He took his jacket off and placed it around my shoulders. "I can't have you freezing to death on my conscience." He smiled. His smile was infectious, and even through my tears, I found myself smiling too. "Whatever it is, you shouldn't let it ruin your night. You're here now, so you should have a good time." This guy was right. Liv and Ian were certainly having a great time, so why should I be the one sat here miserable? I didn't need Ian or Liv, so they were both welcome to each other. I was at this lame party now, and I didn't have my car with me, so I was stuck here. I may as well make the most of it. "Let's get a drink," I blubbered out. I wiped my tears, and the guy helped me up, and we went inside. Jackpot for me, he's very cute. His name's Nick, and he's friends with one of the guys on the football team. I spent the rest of the party with Nick. We danced around and played party games. Turns out I sucked at beer pong, so I ended up quite tipsy from all the beer I had to down. I felt tired and wanted to go home, but how on earth could I sit in the same car as that traitor Liv? Talk about the most awkward car journey home ever. I couldn't put myself through it. Then Nick offered me a ride home. I acted shy, but agreed. I mean, who could say no to him? Besides, he'd cheered me up tonight. I told him the address and dozed off a bit in the back seat, then woke up just in time to tell him to turn left at the next intersection. Then it'd be my house. But to my horror, he sped up and drove past it. Confused, I told him that we needed to make a U-turn, but he just ignored me and smirked. I panicked. Then I yelled at him, "What are you doing?" Suddenly, he answered the phone. I heard a female voice on the other end. I stayed quiet to listen, but couldn't tell what she was saying. He replied, "Yes, I've got her here. We're on the way." Was I really being kidnapped? I needed to find a way to get out. I thought about calling my sister to help pick me up, and I'd jump out of the car at a red stop. I called her and whispered to her the situation and to come find me at the gas station we're about to pass by. I didn't hang up just yet. I told Nick, "I've already told my sister. If you don't release me now, she'll call the police." He looked taken aback. My plan did work a little, but not enough to make him stop the car. I had to switch to plan B, jumping out of the car. From now till we get to the gas station, there would be 3 red stops, and I'd have to brace myself to jump, or else we'd get to the highway and there would be no turning back. First, it was a green light. Second one, I had my hands on the car door handle, but was too scared to open it. Third one, I had to do this now or never. As we approached the lights, I closed my eyes and was about to do it. Then he suddenly turned left. I panicked. He stopped the car and told me to get out. Confused, I froze. Then his phone rang again. I saw the pic of the caller. It's a woman. Seems a little familiar. As the phone rang, he yelled at me to get out again. I quickly opened the door and fell to the ground. He drove away immediately. I sobbed out to my sister on the phone, and through my fear, I tried explaining what had just happened. With my shaking hands, I managed to share my location with her. Then I walked to try and find some place with bright lights to wait for her. I was in total panic mode until I got home. As I calmed down a bit, I started to put things together and wondered why he did this to me. And then it came to my mind that the caller was the woman in the black luxury car I saw that afternoon. Then this means it all had something to do with Ian. Is it because she thought I was Ian's girlfriend or something? But when she found out I wasn't, she ordered my release? If Ian has something to do with this, then that means Liv could now be in danger. Should I warn her? Or is it now that traitor's problem, not mine? I'm mad with her, but I don't want anything bad to happen to her. I don't know what this is all about. What should I do now?
Hi, I'm Casey, and I'm from San Diego. Everyone who knows me knows how impulsive I can be. I'm like the total opposite of my friend Patrick, who is such a nerd. He's the biggest coward ever. So I was starting to wonder why we were even friends. That was until he came back to San Diego one weekend with a gorgeous stranger. You see, after Patrick graduated from high school, he moved to LA for college. I stayed at home to help my family run our guest house. I have always loved the beach, the sun, and the wind. The roar of the waves and the smell of salty air all combined to be a part of me, so I would never want to leave my hometown. Until one day, winter break rolled around, Patrick showed up at my door carrying a whole bunch of luggage. I was so happy to see him, but also confused. "Do you want to stay here?" I asked him. He just laughed and said, "No, silly, not me. I've brought you some business." Then I noticed a group of people behind him. I ran out to help them with their luggage, and there was one guy who looked like he was really struggling. I asked him if he needed some help, and when he looked up, I couldn't believe it. He was the most handsome guy I'd ever laid my eyes on. They ended up staying at our guest house for a whole week, and it was seriously the best week ever. I could hardly take my eyes off of him. His name was Jacob, and I wanted him to stay with us forever. I watched him as he played volleyball with his friends, and when he chopped firewood to build a bonfire. And then his voice, oh my gosh, when he sang, it was like I was in heaven. One night, him and his friends all sat around the fire singing and playing guitar, and I watched from the porch, wishing that night would last forever. After they went back to LA, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Why hadn't I told him how I felt? Now I'd missed my chance. But then I realized I had to see him again. No matter what, I was going to go to LA and tell him. I asked Patrick if he could help me. I had to find a way to get into their college. I had to be closer to Jacob. My grades were pretty pathetic, but somehow Patrick managed to convince the scholarship department to give me a chance. The school had a few sports scholarships on offer, and after a month of waiting to hear, I found out I got it. It was hard to convince my parents to send their little girl away, but Patrick helped a lot, and somehow they have always trusted him over me since we were kids. But I didn't mind, because all I could think about was how I'd see Jacob again soon. When I arrived in LA, Patrick picked me up at the airport and told me that I would stay with him for a few days until I could move into my own dorm. As usual, he was being over-careful and kept saying I had to take every precaution I could ever think of, because LA was so dangerous and that he didn't want me to stay out late at night. Typical Patrick, he was even worse than my dad. And it was so ironic because I was the one that always protected him. When we were kids, I'd saved him from a whole group of bullies. So if anyone needed to be worried about danger, it was him, not me. I was the brave one around here. Patrick seemed so excited to see me, and I felt bad because all I could think about was Jacob. I was about to ask him about him when we arrived at Patrick's place. I followed him inside, and then I heard a couple voices. I turned to him and said, "Oh, I didn't realize you had roommates." Then he said, "I only have one. Jacob, remember him?" My heart started racing. Jacob was here, in this house? But then Patrick said, "Oh, and that other voice is his girlfriend's. She's been spending a lot of time here recently." Oh my God, my heart sank. Jacob had a girlfriend? I couldn't believe it. The next moment, Jacob and his girlfriend appeared, and I just froze. This couldn't be happening. I'd been too late. My life was over. What was the point in even being here? That night, we all had dinner together, and I could barely eat. It was so awkward, and I just wanted to go home. Jacob's girlfriend was called Sarah, and she was so clingy. She wouldn't leave Jacob alone even for a second, and I didn't understand why they were together. She wasn't even pretty. She had fake eyelashes, a fake tan, and even her hair looked fake. She was like a doll, and I just thought that Jacob could do so much better. I didn't really speak except to ask how long they'd been together, and Sarah replied and said, 2 months. The 2 best months of my whole life. Isn't that right, babe? Then she kissed him. Yuck. I wanted to puke. The whole time I noticed Jacob kept looking at me, and I knew that it was me he actually liked, not her. Something about the way he kept glancing over at me. My intuition was never wrong. Sure, she'd managed to wrap him around her little finger, but before long, he'd be mine. I hadn't worked this hard for nothing. I needed to come up with a plan quickly to make him dump Sarah and start dating me. The next day, I made up an excuse to Patrick, saying that my dorm wasn't ready yet, and would it be okay if I stayed with them for a bit longer. Patrick didn't mind at all. Yay! Now I'd have more time to be around Jacob so I could win him over. Luckily, Sarah had a job in the evenings, so she was out a lot. Whenever she wasn't there, Jacob acted so differently. One night, he asked if I wanted to watch a movie with him, and he even shared his popcorn with me. And then one day, I was struggling with my computer, and he stopped what he was doing to help me. Surely he wouldn't do that if he didn't like me, right? I was sitting right next to him. He was so close. I could have just leaned over and kissed him, and I thought about it. But then suddenly his phone started ringing, and it was Sarah. He ignored it, and I really got my hopes up. But then she called again, and he answered, and apologized, saying he'd been helping me. I could hear how angry Sarah was, and after that day, he didn't speak to me as much. It made me so mad, and I realized I needed to find a way to get rid of Sarah ASAP. She was ruining everything. She obviously saw me as a threat, and pretty soon it was like World War III whenever I saw her. Jacob's birthday was coming up, and I wanted to make sure I got him the best gift ever. I asked Patrick for advice, but then on his birthday, I handed his gift over, and he said Sarah had just given him exactly the same thing. I couldn't believe it. Turns out Sarah had overheard Patrick telling me what Jacob would like and wanted to show me up. I'd also made him a cake, and when I went to bring it out to him, Sarah bumped into me and it went flying. She was such a psycho. After that day, I really couldn't stand being near her, but then the cherry on top happened. She borrowed Jacob's car, and then she crashed it into Patrick's car, which I had been using to get to class and back. When Jacob found out, he went crazy. But you won't believe it. She blamed me. She said I'd driven into her. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I told Jacob it was her fault, but he didn't say anything. He just ignored me. I tried to speak to Patrick about it all, but he said it was too much drama and he wasn't interested. And he couldn't help with Jacob either because he had started hanging out with some new friends, and they two were no longer close buddies anymore. I hated Sarah more than ever after that. But at this point, Jacob's new friends even made me more curious. I realized he was acting differently, like coming home really late at night, getting drunk, and burning money on parties and such. I heard that he would host a party at the house that weekend. So anyways, I decided this could be a good opportunity for me to impress Jacob and his new friends. So I wore a designer dress and even prepared almost everything. As Jacob's friends arrived, I welcomed them all, but they barely acknowledged me. They were all huddled around Sarah, and it looked like they were flirting with her. Patrick stayed in his room. That's how much he disliked Jacob's new friends. And pretty soon, Jacob was asleep on the couch after drinking too much. I decided I was going to leave the party and go to bed too, but then I overheard Jacob's friends whispering. They said that now was their chance to have some fun with Sarah. I was shocked. Were they going to hurt her? I started to panic and ran to find Sarah. I told her what I'd heard, but she just laughed and said I was pathetic. Fine then, why should I care about her? She was my enemy. So what did it matter? I went to the spare room and lay down, but I was worried. I was the only one who knew she was in danger. If something happened to her, I'd regret it forever. I needed to make a decision. Little did I know how bad things were about to get.
Hi, I'm Izzy, and my grandparents brought me up. It's not that my parents weren't around at all, it's just that they worked in New York, and, well, they were workaholics, so I ended up staying with my grandparents. My sister, Beatrice, or B as we all call her, lived with my parents. I don't know why this was exactly. It just kinda happened. My parents visited every Christmas and occasionally during spring break, but not having them around was normal for me. Then one summer, my parents showed up with B and told me they were moving to town and we were all going to live together. At first, this was weird, as I was so used to barely seeing them, but then I decided it could be good, right? But, well, living with a little sister was more complicated than I thought. It's kind of bothersome. In fact, B even pushed me, an average drama-free girl at school, into a bunch of nonsense scandals. B's a sweet kid, but she's on the shy side and she can be a bit clingy. Probably because she still needed some time to fit into this new place, so she followed me and clung on to me all day long. But I just didn't get why she had to copy everything I did. I wore ripped skinny jeans, so she bought the exact same pair. I wore glitter pink lip gloss, so she did too. I got a new phone for my birthday, and she begged our parents until they caved and gave her one too. That kinda sucked, as I'd waited for ages for a decent phone, and she got one just by nagging. She had her own bedroom, but each night she came into my room and made me tell her stories about everyone at school, as she said this would help her make new friends faster. We'd chat about school, boys, friends, girl stuff. Then she'd fall asleep in my room. She stayed here pretty much every night, so in the end, our parents bought us bunk beds. But she then went and bragged about everything I told her to her classmates, so they'd think she's cool, since she got to hang out with seniors and knew their stories. One time, she leaked out the secret that my best friend Lee had a crush on Paul, and she told her friends that I was surely gonna be spring queen at the next prom. What? I didn't even think about trying out for that. Never! I'm not interested in that kind of attention. And obviously, the rumors got out. Lee stormed up to me, yelling and all, saying she never wanted to be friends again. I tried to explain things to her, but she didn't listen. And for the rest of the day, every time I walked across the hallway, the popular girls would smirk at me and say things like, "Who do you think you are?" Like, seriously, as if you could be spring queen? I hated this. I just wanted to have a normal, quiet life at school. I didn't like this attention, nor did I have any longing to be spring queen. This made me so mad. So later in the afternoon, I stormed into B's classroom during recess, dragged her aside, and told her to stop ruining my life with her big mouth. I didn't have much time to talk to her about exactly what had happened because I had to return to class, but I made sure to make my point and threw her a dirty look before I left. She looked pretty scared. I stomped back to class, but my tantrum didn't last long because during English Lit, my teacher paired me on a group project with 2 of my friends and Andy, the cutest guy ever. This was the perfect excuse to use the group study time to organize a meetup at my house. The plan was set. I just needed to come home, put on my cutest outfit, and wait for them to come over. I was so nervous that I didn't really mind about the feud with my sister anymore. I excitedly told her about Andy coming over, and she helped me tidy up my room and braid my hair. They arrived, and studying didn't last long. Soon, we were watching movies and playing games. Then B suggested we play 7 Minutes in Heaven. That's so childish, but the others seemed up for it. Besides, I figured it could work in my favor with Andy. We spun the bottle to decide, and when it was Andy's turn, B asked to spin it for him. Then she winked over at me and Andy. Then, to my horror, the bottle pointed at her. What was that? Is she stealing my crush too? This little brat. She and Andy went into the closet, and after 7 excruciating minutes, they walked out looking all smiley. I was so mad, but I kept my cool until they left. Then I screamed at B that she was a horrible, sneaky girl and to stay away from me. It got so heated, Mom had to come and tell me to stop. I slammed my bedroom door shut and even put my dresser in front of it so B couldn't come in. The next day, she tried apologizing to me, but I ignored her. She even left a candy bar on my pillow, but I just chucked it in the trash. To make matters worse, Andy approached me at school and went on about the fun he'd had at mine and how cool B was. What? So what exactly did those 2 do in the closet? This was awful. Then prom day came. I didn't have a date. Lee still wasn't talking to me, and trying to avoid B in my own house was draining. Then Lee called me up excitedly and told me Paul had asked her to prom. I was so happy for her, and we made up. She invited me over to get ready for prom at hers. I packed my dress, my makeup, but my eyebrow pencil was missing. I mumbled, "Ugh, B," as she must have taken mine again. I knew she was at swimming practice, so I went through her drawer to find my makeup stuff. Nothing. Then I spotted something under her pillow. It looked like the end of a black pencil. This must be it. I took it out, but it wasn't an eyebrow pencil, just a normal pen. It was in the middle of a notebook. So curious. I pulled it out. That's when I glimpsed my name on the open page. So I picked it up to see what it was. It's her diary. I read through the first few pages. She said she loved me very much and that she was happy that she finally got to live in the same house as me. I found a specific page that was a little ripped. It was the day I yelled at her. I saw tears dried out on her words. She wrote how she really thought I was very beautiful and would win the Spring Queen title, and how she just wanted to help me and Andy get together, so she suggested the 7 minutes game. And she tried to aim the bottle at me, but it went wrong. And that when she was in the closet with Andy, she was only saying nice things about me to him. And she also found out that Andy had feelings for me. Also, she wrote that sleeping alone was so scary, but she didn't want to bother me anymore. She said she'd ruined everything and wished she could move back to her old house. I felt so guilty, and I just cried all the way to Lee's place and later told her everything. I was not in the mood for prom anymore, so even though everyone complimented me on my dress, I couldn't enjoy myself. Andy came forward and asked me to dance, but I couldn't quit thinking about B. I apologized to Andy for my bad mood, and he was so understanding. We ended up taking a walk outside, and I vented to him about how I'd misunderstood my sister. Then, suddenly, I spotted her with friends at the photo booth at the entrance. They looked like they were having so much fun, except for her. She looked so sad. I grabbed her arm from behind. She turned around, shocked, then quickly stepped back and went to leave, but I stopped her and told her I was sorry. I hugged her, and we both cried, and continuously said sorry to each other. Then, I suddenly heard my name on the mic inside the venue. She then said, "Go, go! They must be crowning you as Spring Queen right now! Told you so!" Turns out, I wasn't Spring Queen, but I did make prom court, which I guess is kinda cool. I was wrong to ever be mad at B. She never meant to cause any harm. I know that now. Later that evening, Lee and Paul came over and thanked B, as it was basically down to her that they were now together. Then Lee winked at Andy, who was standing next to me, and said, "You should also thank B, because it looks like we're having another couple here." Talk about awkward. So we both just shrugged it off and pretended not to understand what she meant. We spent the rest of the night dancing and having a great time. It felt so good to have my best friend and my little sis back in my life. I've now realized that having Bella with me all the time isn't so bad. Yes, she's annoying at times, but all she wanted was to have her big sis around. And I guess I have to admit that I like having my little sis around too.